When Lucien Cole slapped Naomi Adebayo across the face in that Hongdae café, he had no idea the quiet Korean man sitting beside her owned half the underground in Seoul. He had no idea that man had killed for less. He had no idea the woman he just struck had evidence that could destroy his entire empire. And he had absolutely no idea that in 72 hours he would be begging for mercy that would never come. This is the story of how a corrupt lawyer hunted the wrong woman, threatened the wrong husband, and learned too late that some monsters hide behind bookstore counters. If you want to see how this ends, stay until the final word, and drop a like and comment your city so I can see how far this story travels. Ouchie! Rain hammered the streets of Hongdae like bullets against concrete, turning the neon reflections into bleeding colors across black asphalt. Inside a cramped cafe that smelled like fish broth and wet coats, Naomi Adebayo sat across from her husband and tried to remember how to breathe normally. 18 months. 18 months since Lagos. 18 months since she'd stopped looking over her shoulder every 5 seconds. Kang Taejin barely looked up from his fish cake soup. He never looked up much. Dark coat, ink-stained fingers, tired eyes that gave nothing away. He could have been an accountant, a librarian, anyone forgettable. That was the point. Naomi watched him eat with the mechanical precision of someone who'd long ago stopped tasting food. She'd married this man 6 months ago in a courthouse ceremony that took 11 minutes. No flowers. No family. Just two strangers signing papers because Naomi needed a visa and Taejin needed... She still didn't know what Taejin needed. He said he owned a bookstore. He said his family didn't talk to him anymore. He said the arrangement would be simple, clean, no expectations. He never said he was the kind of man who came home at 3 in the morning with blood on his knuckles and wouldn't explain where it came from. "You're staring," Taejin said quietly, still not looking up. "You have ink on your face." "Where?" "Left side, near your jaw." He rubbed at it absently with his thumb, smearing it worse. Naomi almost smiled. Almost. Smiling felt dangerous lately, like admitting she'd let her guard down. The cafe door opened. Cold air and rain swept in. Naomi's entire body went rigid. No. Not possible. Lucien Cole stood in the doorway, shaking water from his expensive coat like he owned the building. Like he owned the entire district. Tall, sharp-featured, perfectly groomed even in a downpour. He looked exactly the way he had in Lagos. Confident. Untouchable. The kind of man who'd never been told no in his entire privileged life. Their eyes met. Lucien smiled. That smile made Naomi's stomach turn to ice. "Small world," Lucien said, walking toward their table like he'd been invited. His accent carried that polished international edge, British boarding school education wrapped around American corporate ambition. "I heard you were in Seoul. Took me a while to confirm it." Naomi couldn't move, couldn't speak. Her hands locked around her soup bowl so tight her knuckles went white. Taejin finally looked up. His expression didn't change. He simply watched Lucien approach with the same flat attention he gave everything else. Traffic, television, the neighbor's cat. Nothing. "I'm sorry," Lucien said, not sounding sorry at all. "Am I interrupting something?" "Yes," Taejin said. Lucien laughed, light, dismissive. "I'll just need a moment with Naomi. Old friends, you understand." "No." The word dropped like a stone, flat, final. Lucien's smile tightened. He looked at Taejin properly for the first time, reassessing. Seeing a thin Korean man in a bookstore coat with ink on his hands and absolutely nothing threatening about him. "It's fine," Naomi heard herself say. Her voice came out hoarse. "Just give us a minute." Taejin's eyes moved to her face. She couldn't read what she saw there. She never could. He stood slowly, picked up his soup bowl, and walked to the counter to pay. He moved like someone who'd learned a long time ago that rushing accomplished nothing. Lucien slid into the empty seat. "You look different," he said. "Thinner, sadder. Seoul doesn't suit you. What do you want?" Not a question. Naomi was done asking Lucien Cole questions. He leaned forward, elbows on the sticky table, close enough that she could smell his cologne. Expensive, suffocating. "You know what I want? The same thing I wanted 18 months ago when you vanished like a coward. The files, Naomi. The evidence. All of it." I don't have it. You're lying. I deleted everything. Lucien's hand shot across the table and grabbed her wrist. His fingers dug in hard enough to bruise. Don't insult my intelligence. You're not stupid enough to destroy your only leverage. You kept it. You hid it. And now you're going to give it to me before this gets uglier than it needs to. Naomi tried to pull away. His grip tightened. People have been asking questions, Lucien continued, voice dropping to something quieter, meaner. Regulators, journalists, someone's been making noise about the Lagos accounts, about the missing funds, about my firm. Was that you, Naomi? Have you been talking? I haven't said anything to anyone. Then who has? I don't know. Maybe your mess finally caught up to you without my help. His hand twisted. Pain shot up her arm. You think you're safe here? Lucien said. You think marrying some local nobody protects you? I found you once. I can find you again. I can make your life very difficult, Naomi. Or, his expression softened into something worse than anger, something almost kind. Or you can be smart. Give me what I want. I'll wire you money. Enough to disappear properly this time. Enough to never worry again. We both walk away clean. I don't want your money. Then what do you want? Naomi looked him in the eye. I want you to let go of my wrist before my husband comes back. Lucien glanced toward the counter where Taejin stood talking quietly with the café owner. He laughed, actually laughed. That's your protection? That's what you're counting on? Let go. Instead, Lucien squeezed harder, leaned closer. You ruined my career once. You made me look weak, unreliable. Do you have any idea how much money I lost because you couldn't keep your mouth shut about things that weren't your business? It was my business. I was the auditor. You were a clerk with delusions of importance. I was the person who found proof you stole from retirees, widows, families who trusted you. The slap came so fast, Naomi didn't see it coming. Her head snapped sideways. Her cheek exploded in white-hot pain. The entire cafe went silent, conversations cutting off mid-sentence, chopsticks freezing halfway to mouths, even the kitchen sounds stopping. Naomi's ears rang. She tasted blood. Lucien stood slowly, adjusting his coat. You have 48 hours to send me those files. After that, I stop being polite. He turned to leave. Taejin stood in his way. Naomi hadn't seen him move. 1 second he was at the counter. The next he was there, between Lucien and the door, hands in his coat pockets, face still showing absolutely nothing. Excuse me, Lucien said. Taejin didn't move. I said, excuse me. Silence. The kind that made the cafe feel smaller, tighter, like the air pressure had changed. Lucien's jaw tightened. Listen, I don't know what your wife told you, but this is a private matter, business. Stay out of it. Taejin looked past Lucien to where Naomi sat frozen at the table, one hand pressed to her burning cheek. Then he looked at Lucien, still nothing in his expression, but something in the quality of his attention changed, sharpened. You should leave now, Taejin said quietly. Are you threatening me? No? Then get out of my way. Taejin stepped aside. Lucien walked past him, shoulders tight with barely controlled rage. He stopped at the door, looking back. 48 hours, Naomi. Don't make me come looking for you again. The door closed. Rain swallowed him. The cafe slowly came back to life. Whispered conversations, nervous laughter, the clatter of dishes resuming. But nobody looked at Naomi directly. They looked at Taejin. He walked back to the table and sat down, picked up his water glass, took a sip. We should go home, he said. Naomi couldn't stop shaking. Taejin! Not here. His voice hadn't changed, still flat, still controlled. But his hands, she realized his hands were gripping the water glass hard enough that his knuckles had gone bone white. They left money on the table and walked out into the rain. The bookstore sat wedged between a convenience store and a noraebang in a neighborhood where rent stayed cheap because tourists never wandered this far off the main drag. 3 floors. Narrow. The kind of place that would go unnoticed unless you knew to look for it. Taejin unlocked the front door and held it open. Naomi climbed the stairs to their apartment on the 3rd floor. Her legs felt distant, disconnected, like they belonged to someone else. Inside, she went straight to the bathroom and locked the door. Her reflection looked back from the mirror, dark skin flushed on one side where Lucien's hand had connected, eyes too wide, braids falling loose from the tie she'd used that morning. She looked terrified. She looked exactly like she had 18 months ago when she'd fled Lagos with nothing but a laptop and a phone full of encrypted files she'd been too afraid to use. The evidence. 3 years of financial records proving Lucien Cole and his firm had systematically stolen from clients through shell companies, forged transfers, fake investment accounts. Millions, maybe tens of millions. Retirees lost their pensions, families lost their savings, small businesses collapsed, and every signature traced back to Lucien. When Naomi first found the discrepancies, she'd thought it was a mistake, an accounting error, something that could be fixed quietly. Then she started asking questions. Then her supervisor told her to stop asking questions. Then she was fired. Then men started following her home. Then her apartment was broken into and her files stolen, but not the encrypted backup drive she'd hidden in a box of tampons because men like Lucien never looked there. Then she ran. Seoul had seemed far enough, different enough. She'd found work teaching English, rented a closet-sized room in Itaewon, kept her head down, kept quiet, until she met Taejin. She still didn't understand how that happened. He'd walked into her English conversation class 6 months ago, the only student over 30 in a room full of university kids. Never spoke unless called on. Always sat in the back. After class one night, he'd waited until everyone else left. "You need a visa," he'd said. Not a question. Naomi had frozen. "What?" "Your visa expires in 2 months. You can't renew it on a teaching salary. You need a sponsor or you need to leave Korea." "How do you—" "I'm offering you an option. A marriage contract, legal, clean, no expectations beyond paperwork. You stay in Korea, I get—" He'd paused. "I get family pressure off my back. Temporary arrangement, 2 years. Then we divorce quietly." Naomi should have said no. Should have asked more questions. Should have done anything except stare at this strange, quiet man and feel like she was looking at the only life preserver in an ocean that was actively trying to drown her. "Why me?" she'd asked. "You need help. I can help. That's enough." It wasn't enough. It didn't make sense. But Naomi was desperate and tired and so goddamn alone that even a fake marriage to a stranger felt better than running again. So she'd said yes. Now, standing in the bathroom of the apartment they shared above his bookstore, Naomi realized she'd married someone she didn't know at all. A knock on the door. "Naomi." She opened it. Taejin stood in the hallway holding a cold compress wrapped in a dish towel. He handed it to her without meeting her eyes. "Thank you." He nodded once and turned to leave. "Taejin?" He stopped. "We need to talk." "Yes." "About Lucien?" "Yes." "About what he wants." Taejin finally looked at her. His expression was still unreadable, but something in his eyes had changed. Something cold and distant and utterly focused. "I know what he wants." "You don't. You don't know what this is about." "Then tell me." Naomi pressed the compress to her face. The cold helped. The pain didn't go away, but it became manageable, distant. "I need to show you something first." She walked to their bedroom and pulled her laptop from under the bed, opened it, typed in 3 passwords, and waited for the encryption software to boot. Taejin stood in the doorway, watching. The screen flickered to life. Folders, files, spreadsheets, documents. Years of evidence meticulously organized and backed up in 7 different locations. 18 months ago, I was working as a junior auditor at a law firm in Lagos, Naomi said. Her voice sounded hollow, too calm. Elite firm. International clients, high-profile cases. I was assigned to review their client trust accounts, make sure everything balanced. She clicked open a folder. It didn't balance. Millions were missing. Transferred to shell companies, funneled through fake investment accounts, stolen from people who trusted the firm to protect their money. Another folder. Transaction records. Names, dates, amounts. I found proof. Documentation. Email chains. Forged signatures. Everything. And it all led back to one senior partner, Lucien Cole. Taejin moved closer. His eyes scanned the screen with unsettling speed, taking in numbers and names like he'd done this before. When I tried to report it, I was told to drop it. When I wouldn't, I was fired. When I kept pushing, men started following me. My apartment was broken into. My supervisor warned me that if I kept talking, I would disappear and nobody would ask questions. She closed the laptop. So I ran. I took the evidence and I ran. I thought if I went far enough, if I stayed quiet long enough, eventually they'd stop looking. They didn't stop, Taejin said. No. And now he's found you. Yes. Taejin was quiet for a long moment. Then he pulled out his phone and made a call. He spoke in rapid Korean, too fast for Naomi to follow with her limited vocabulary. The conversation lasted maybe 30 seconds. He hung up. Stay here, he said. Where are you going? Downstairs. I need to make arrangements. What kind of arrangements? Taejin looked at her. Really looked at her. And for the first time since she'd met him, Naomi saw something clear in his expression, something absolute. The kind that makes sure he never touches you again. He left. Naomi stood alone in the bedroom, listening to his footsteps descend the stairs. She heard the bookstore door open, close. Voices in the street below, low, terse, speaking in Korean she couldn't parse. She walked to the window and looked down. 3 men stood in the rain talking to Taejin. They wore dark coats. They moved like soldiers. One of them handed Taejin something. She couldn't see what. Taejin nodded. The men dispersed. He came back upstairs 20 minutes later. His coat was soaked. His hair dripped water onto the floor. Who were those men? Naomi asked. People who work for me. You own a bookstore? Yes. Bookstore owners don't have men who look like that. Taejin took off his coat and hung it carefully on the back of a chair. No, they don't. Then who are you? He didn't answer immediately. Instead, he walked to the kitchen and filled a kettle with water, put it on the stove, got down 2 mugs. Tea bags. The mechanical routine of someone buying time to choose his words. The kettle boiled. He poured, handed her a mug. My family name is Kang, he said finally. In Seoul, that name means something. Money, influence, connections that go back 3 generations. Naomi wrapped her hands around the mug. You said your family didn't talk to you anymore. They don't. Because I left. Because I walked away from something they expected me to inherit. What? Taejin looked at her. An organization. A network. People call it different things. Black Viper Syndicate. Kang family. The Hongdae Network. Doesn't matter what you call it. What matters is what it controls. Naomi's stomach dropped. Controls. Casinos, shipping routes, underground finance, real estate development, political leverage. Everything that moves through Seoul's shadow economy, my family built half of it. My grandfather started it. My father expanded it, and I was supposed to take over when he retired. Your mafia. The word hung in the air between them. Taejin didn't flinch. Yes, and the bookstore is what I do instead. What I've been doing for 2 years since I left. My family tolerates it because they think eventually I'll come back. Give up on whatever idealism made me walk away. Will you? No. But something in the way he said it, something tight and defensive, made Naomi wonder if he actually believed that. Why did you leave? She asked. Because people died. People I was supposed to protect. And I realized I was very good at what I did and very tired of being good at it. He set down his mug. I thought running a bookstore would be quiet, simple, boring. And then you walked into my English class looking like someone who'd spent 18 months waiting for the world to find you again. Naomi's throat tightened. You knew. I knew you were hiding. I knew you were scared. I didn't know why, and I didn't ask because I was trying not to be the kind of person who asked those questions anymore. But you still offered to marry me. Yes. Why? Taejin looked away. Because I recognized something. The way you held yourself. The way you watched doorways. The way you never talked about where you came from. I knew that posture. I'd lived it. So you felt sorry for me? No. I felt like maybe helping you was the first useful thing I'd done in 2 years. The honesty in that, the raw, unhidden admission, hit Naomi harder than Lucien's slap. What happens now? She whispered. Taejin's expression changed, hardened. Now I make a call I said I'd never make again. He pulled out his phone. Wait, Naomi said. What are you going to do? What I should have done the second he put his hands on you. Taejin, he hit you. In public, in front of witnesses, in front of people who know who I am. His voice was still quiet, still controlled. But something underneath it had teeth now. That's not something I can ignore, even if I wanted to. I don't want you to hurt him because of me. Then I'll hurt him because of what he did, because of what he's still trying to do, because men like him don't stop unless someone makes them stop. He started dialing. Naomi grabbed his wrist. Please, just tell me what you're planning. Taejin looked at her hand on his arm, then at her face. I'm planning to destroy him, he said simply, completely, legally, publicly, using the evidence you already have and the resources I've spent 2 years pretending I don't still have access to. That's not who you are anymore. Maybe not, but it's who I was. And right now, that's what you need. He made the call. This time Naomi understood some of it. Enough. Grandmother, emergency, assets, international connections. When he hung up, his face looked older, tired in a way that had nothing to do with sleep. She'll be here in an hour, he said. Who? Madame Seo Kong, my grandmother, the person who actually runs what's left of the Kong family business while everyone pretends my father's in charge. Naomi's hand started shaking again. Taejin, I don't want to drag your family into this. You didn't drag anyone. Lucien did. The second he walked into that cafe and put his hands on you, he made this personal, and my grandmother. He almost smiled. Almost. My grandmother takes personal very seriously. Footsteps on the stairs. But it had only been 5 minutes. Nobody could have gotten here that fast. Taejin moved to the door before Naomi could react, looked through the peephole. His entire body went rigid. Go to the bedroom, he said quietly. What? Now. The tone left no room for argument. Naomi ran. She heard the door open, heard voices. One she recognized. Lucien. I told you 48 hours, he was saying. But then I thought, why wait? Why give her time to run again? So here I am, ready to talk terms. Leave. Taejin's voice. Flat. Final. I don't think so. See, I did some asking around after our little encounter. Talked to some people. Found out some interesting things about you, about your family, about the kind of business you used to be in. Leave now. You're not what you pretend to be, are you, Taejin? That bookstore downstairs is cute. Really sells the whole reformed criminal trying to go straight angle. But you're still connected, still dangerous, still exactly the kind of man Naomi should be afraid of. Silence. So here's what's going to happen, Lucien continued. You're going to convince your wife to give me what I want. And in exchange, I don't tell the world that she's shacked up with a mafia washout who married her for, what, a cover story, a visa scam? You have 3 seconds to walk away. Or what? You'll hurt me? In your own building? With witnesses downstairs? I don't think you're that stupid. 2 seconds? I'm not afraid of you. 1. The sound that followed was brief and efficient. A thud. A gasp. Something heavy hitting the floor. Then Taejin's voice. Quieter than before, but somehow worse. I told you to leave. Naomi heard footsteps. Stumbling. The door opening. Closing. Silence. She waited. Counted to 60. Opened the bedroom door. Taejin stood in the living room, breathing hard. His knuckles were bleeding. There was blood on the floor that wasn't his. He looked at her. He'll come back, Taejin said. With more people. With lawyers. With threats. Men like him always do. I know. So we don't wait. We move first. We take everything you have, and we turn it into a weapon he can't defend against. Naomi's laptop was still open on the bed. Years of evidence, proof, documentation, everything she'd been too afraid to use. You're sure about this? She asked. Taejin crossed the room, stood close enough that she could see the muscle ticking in his jaw, close enough that she could smell rain and ink and something darker underneath. I'm sure that I'm tired of pretending I don't know how to fight, he said. I'm sure that you deserve better than running forever. And I'm sure that Lucien Cole made a mistake tonight that he's going to regret for the rest of his life. His phone buzzed. He checked it. My grandmother's here. Naomi's heart hammered against her ribs. Everything was happening too fast, too much. 18 months of hiding, of staying small, of being invisible. And now suddenly she was standing in the middle of a storm with a man she barely knew who just promised to destroy someone for her. She should say no, should grab her laptop and run like she always ran. But when she looked at Taejin, really looked at him, she saw something that made her stop. He was afraid too, not of Lucien, not of the violence or the consequences. He was afraid of becoming the person he used to be, and he was choosing to do it anyway, for her. Okay, Naomi whispered. Taejin nodded once. They went downstairs together. The bookstore was closed, but the lights were on. An old woman sat in the reading chair near the window, tiny, elegant, wearing a black coat that probably cost more than Naomi's entire wardrobe. Her silver hair was pulled back severely. Her eyes were sharp as broken glass. She looked at Naomi, smiled. So, Madame Seokong said in perfect English, you're the woman who finally made my grandson stop pretending he's dead. Madame Seokong's smile didn't reach her eyes. It never did. Naomi had learned that in the first 30 seconds of meeting her, the old woman's face could perform warmth while her gaze remained cold and calculating as a surgeon's blade. Sit, she said, gesturing to the chair across from her. Naomi sat. Her legs felt weak. The adrenaline from Lucien's visit was draining away, leaving nothing but exhaustion and a low-grade tremor in her hands she couldn't control. Taejin remained standing, positioned slightly behind his grandmother's chair, a bodyguard stance, protective, alert. You have beautiful skin, Madame Kang said, studying Naomi's face. Even with that mark on your cheek. Who did that to you? A man named Lucien Cole. American. British education, American practice. Works out of Lagos. Lawyer? Yes. Lawyers? Madame Kang made a dismissive sound in the back of her throat. Parasites in expensive suits. What does he want from you? Naomi glanced at Taejin. He gave a small nod. She explained. All of it. The audit. The stolen funds. The evidence. The running. Lagos to Seoul. 18 months of looking over her shoulder. And now Lucien tracking her down like she was prey that had wandered too far from the den. Madame Kang listened without interrupting. Her expression never changed. When Naomi finished, the old woman was quiet for a long moment. Show me the evidence, she said finally. Naomi hesitated. It's encrypted, complex, financial records. It would take hours to... I don't need to understand every transaction. I need to understand if it's real, if it's usable, if it's enough. Naomi pulled out her phone, opened the cloud backup, selected 3 key documents, transaction records, email chains, forged authorization forms. Madame Kang took the phone, scrolled through the files with surprising speed for someone her age. Her eyes moved across the screen like she'd done this 1,000 times before. She had, Naomi realized. This woman had built an empire. She knew exactly what stolen money looked like. This is good, Madame Kang said, handing back the phone. Very good, detailed, organized. You have a gift for documentation. I was an auditor. It's what I was trained to do. You were wasted in that firm. The old woman leaned back in her chair. How much did he steal? Approximately 43 million US dollars over 3 years. Maybe more. Some of the accounts were too complex to fully trace. Madame Kang's eyebrows rose slightly. That's ambitious. Stupid, but ambitious. And you found all of this yourself? Yes. Why didn't you report it immediately? I tried. My supervisor told me to drop it, said I was seeing patterns that weren't there. When I pushed back, I was fired. And then? And then I realized the firm wasn't just protecting Lucien. They were part of it. Partners were profiting. Investigators were paid off. The whole structure was designed to hide what he was doing. Madame Kang nodded slowly. So you ran. Smart. Alive is better than principled and dead. She looked at Taejin. You told her what you used to do? Yes. And she's still sitting here. That's either very brave or very desperate. Her gaze returned to Naomi. Which is it? Naomi met her eyes. Both. The old woman laughed. Actually laughed. It was a sharp, brittle sound. I like her. She doesn't pretend. Taejin shifted his weight. Grandmother, you married her without asking permission. I don't need permission. You married her without telling anyone. It wasn't your business. Everything you do is my business. You're still a Kang. You're still my grandson. You don't get to walk away from that just because you decided to play shopkeeper. The temperature in the room dropped. Naomi watched Taejin's jaw tighten, watched his hands curl into fists. I'm not playing anything, he said quietly. No? Then what are you doing? Hiding? Pretending? Waiting for the world to forget what you're capable of? I'm trying to be someone different. People don't change, they just get better at lying to themselves. Taejin's face went blank. That dangerous nothing expression that meant he was locking everything down. Are you going to help or not? Madame Kang studied him for a long moment. Then she sighed. Of course I'm going to help. She's family now. That means she's protected. That means anyone who touches her answers to me. She stood slowly, leaning on a cane Naomi hadn't noticed before. But understand something, both of you. The moment we move against this Lucien Cole, the moment we use Kang resources to destroy him, the entire family becomes involved. Your father will know, your uncles will know, the board will know. And they will expect something in return. What? Naomi asked. You, Madame Kang said simply. They'll expect you to prove you're worth protecting, that you're not just some girl Taejin married on impulse, that you bring value. I'm not an asset. In this family, everyone is an asset. The only question is whether you're valuable enough to invest in. She moved toward the door. I'll make some calls, activate some old connections. By tomorrow morning, we'll have a strategy, but tonight, she pointed her cane at Taejin. Tonight you keep her safe. Lucien will be angry, humiliated. Men like that do stupid things when their ego is bruised. Watch the doors, watch the windows. Trust nothing. She left. The bookstore felt colder without her. Taejin locked the door behind her, checked the windows, pulled down the security shutters. I'm sorry, Naomi said. He turned. For what? Dragging you into this. Dragging your family into this. I should have kept running. Where would you run to? He found you in Seoul. He'll find you anywhere. Then maybe I should have given him what he wanted. Taejin crossed the room in 3 steps. Got close enough that Naomi had to tilt her head back to look at him. If you give him the evidence, he destroys it. If he destroys it, everyone he stole from loses their only chance at justice. And he knows you kept copies. He'll never stop looking over his shoulder wondering if you'll change your mind. Men like him don't forgive loose ends. So what do I do? You stop running. You stop hiding. You use what you have and you bury him so deep he never crawls out. Naomi's chest felt tight. I don't know how to do that. You do. You just need help executing it. He stepped back. Get some sleep. Tomorrow starts early. But neither of them slept. Naomi lay awake in their shared bedroom. Separate beds, always separate beds, part of their agreement, and listened to Taejin move through the apartment. She heard him on the phone, heard him at the computer, heard him pacing. Around 3 in the morning, she gave up pretending and got up. He was sitting at the kitchen table surrounded by papers, documents, printouts. Her evidence spread across the surface like a map. Can't sleep? She asked. He looked up. His eyes were bloodshot. I'm trying to understand the structure, how the money moved, where it went. If I'm going to dismantle this, I need to know how it's built. Naomi sat down across from him. You don't have to do this. Yes, I do. Why? Because I'm your wife on paper? Because you feel responsible? Taejin set down the document he was reading. Because when I left the syndicate, I told myself I was done being the kind of person who solved problems with violence. I was done hurting people, done making decisions that ended with someone bleeding. He rubbed his eyes. But tonight, when Lucien grabbed you, when he hit you, I wanted to kill him. Not hurt him, kill him. And I would have if we weren't in public, if there weren't witnesses, if I thought I could get away with it. Taejin, so yes, I have to do this. Because if I don't find another way to stop him, I will kill him. And then everything I've been trying to become for the past 2 years disappears. I go back to being exactly what my family wants me to be. The honesty in that, the raw admission, made Naomi's throat ache. Okay, she said, show me what you don't understand. They worked until dawn. Naomi explained the financial structures, the shell companies, the transfer patterns, The way Lucien had layered transactions to obscure the money trail. Taejin absorbed it all with frightening speed, asking sharp questions that cut straight to the weaknesses in Lucien's system. "He's good," Taejin said finally, "but he's not as smart as he thinks. He left patterns, signatures. If we can get this in front of the right people, regulators, journalists, investigators, they'll see it. Lucien has connections. He'll bury it. Not if we release it everywhere at once, overwhelm his ability to control the narrative. That's risky. Everything's risky now." Taejin looked at her. "Are you ready for what comes next? Once we start this, there's no taking it back. Lucien will know it was you. He'll come after you harder. He's already coming after me. Not like this. This will make him desperate, dangerous." Naomi thought about the past 18 months. The fear, the loneliness, the constant looking over her shoulder, the way she'd made herself small and quiet and invisible just to survive. She was tired of being invisible. "I'm ready," she said. Taejin's phone buzzed. He checked it. "My grandmother wants us at her house in 2 hours. She's assembled a team." "What kind of team?" "The kind that doesn't exist on paper." Madame Kang's house sat in Shangbukdong, hidden behind high walls and old trees that blocked sightlines from the street. Traditional architecture, modern security, the kind of place that whispered old money and older power. A man in a black suit met them at the gate. Didn't speak, just gestured for them to follow. Inside, the house was all dark wood and careful emptiness. Nothing personal, nothing warm, like a museum dedicated to the idea of wealth rather than the reality of living. Madame Kang waited in a room that might have been a study or a war room. Impossible to tell. Maps on the walls, screens showing financial data. 3 other people sat around a long table. "Taejin, Naomi, sit." They sat. Madame Kang gestured to the others. "This is Mr. Choi. He handles international finance for the family. This is Ms. Park. She manages our legal exposure. And this is Jay." She paused. "Jay does things we don't talk about in polite company." Jay was young, maybe 30, wore glasses and a hoodie and looked like he'd be more comfortable at a gaming cafe than in a crime family war room. He gave Naomi a small wave. "Jay is our best digital forensics specialist," Madame Kang continued. "He's going to verify your evidence. Make sure it's legally admissible. Make sure it can't be dismissed as fabricated or tampered with." Jay reached for Naomi's laptop. "May I?" She handed it over. He worked in silence for 20 minutes. The room waited. Nobody spoke. Naomi watched Taejin's grandmother read something on a tablet, her expression never changing. Finally, Jay looked up. "This is solid? Really solid. Chain of custody is intact. Encryption is military grade. Metadata confirms creation dates and modification history. Any decent forensic accountant will verify this in about 6 hours." "Can it be traced back to Naomi?" Ms. Park asked. "If someone knows where to look, yes, but that's unavoidable. She's the auditor who accessed these accounts. Her digital fingerprints are all over the original files." "Then we need to control the narrative," Mr. Choi said. "Frame her as a whistleblower, someone acting in the public interest. Get ahead of any character assassination Lucien tries." Madame Kang nodded. "Agreed. What else?" "We need to coordinate release across multiple jurisdictions," Ms. Park said. "Financial regulators in Nigeria, the UK, and the US. If we only hit one country, Lucien can relocate assets and disappear. We need to freeze him globally." "I have contacts at the SEC," Mr. Choi offered, "and the UK's Financial Conduct Authority. I can make introductions." "Do it," Madame Kang said. "What about media?" "I know a journalist at the Financial Times," Ms. Park said. "Investigative reporter. She's been looking for a story like this, something international, high profile. If we give her exclusive access to the documents, she'll run it front page." "And domestically?" "KBS has a financial crimes unit. I can route it through them as well." Madame Kang looked at Naomi. "You understand what this means? Your name will be public. Your face will be public. Lucien will know exactly who destroyed him." "I know." "He will retaliate. Legally. Personally. He'll try to discredit you. Call you a thief, a liar, a disgruntled employee with an agenda. Can you handle that?" Naomi's hands were shaking again. She pressed them flat against the table. I've been handling it for 18 months. I can handle it a little longer. The old woman's expression softened slightly. You're braver than you look. I'm terrified. Good. Fear keeps you careful. Careful keeps you alive. Taejin leaned forward. What's the timeline? 72 hours, Mr. Choi said. We need to coordinate with regulators, brief the journalists, prepare legal protections for Naomi in case Lucien tries to file countersuits. 3 days to get everything in position. Then we release simultaneously. That's a long time, Taejin said. Lucien's not going to wait patiently. Then we make sure he doesn't know what's coming, Madame Kang said. No contact, no warnings. He thinks he's still in control. Let him believe that right up until the moment we pull the trigger. She stood. Naomi will stay here. Guest room on the second floor. 24-hour security. Taejin, you go back to the bookstore. Act normal. If Lucien's watching, we don't want him to think anything's changed. I'm not leaving her, Taejin said. You're not. You're protecting her by maintaining the cover. Lucien is arrogant, but he's not stupid. If we suddenly lock down, he'll know something's happening. He'll accelerate. Maybe run. We need him confident and stationary until we're ready to move. Taejin looked at Naomi. She could see the war happening behind his eyes. Every instinct screaming at him to stay, to guard, to protect. It's okay, she said quietly. Your grandmother's right. We can't spook him. Call me if anything happens. Anything. I will. He left. The room felt bigger without him. The guest room was beautiful in that cold, impersonal way expensive things often are. Silk bedding, antique furniture. A window overlooking a garden Naomi suspected nobody actually walked through. She tried to sleep, failed. Her mind wouldn't stop running through scenarios, Lucien finding out, Lucien running, Lucien doing something desperate and violent before they could stop him. Around midnight, someone knocked on her door. Naomi froze. It's me, a voice said, female, young. Naomi opened the door. A woman stood in the hallway. Early 20s, expensive clothes, sharp features that echoed Taejin's bone structure. Family. I'm Minji, she said. Taejin's cousin. Can I come in? Naomi stepped aside. Minji walked in and sat on the edge of the bed without invitation, studied Naomi with open curiosity. So you're the secret wife? I guess. Nobody told me he got married. I had to hear it from my mother, who heard it from grandmother, who apparently found out tonight. She tilted her head. Why the secrecy? It's complicated. Everything with this family is complicated. Minji pulled her legs up, sitting cross-legged like she was settling in for a long conversation. You're not what I expected. What did you expect? I don't know. Someone more, she gestured vaguely. More Korean, more connected to the family businesses. Taejin's always been weird, but marrying a complete stranger from another country without telling anyone seems weird even for him. It was a practical arrangement. Was? Naomi hesitated. Is a practical arrangement. Minji smiled. You're a terrible liar. I saw the way he looked at you in the war room. That's not practical. That's something else entirely. We barely know each other. So? My parents had an arranged marriage. Didn't meet until the wedding day. Now they've been together 30 years and still act like teenagers. Sometimes not knowing is the point. You get to build something from scratch instead of trying to fix what's already broken. Naomi sat down in the chair by the window. Why are you here? Because grandmother asked me to check on you. Make sure you're settling in, not freaking out. I'm freaking out. Yeah, I figured. You've got that look, all tight around the eyes. Like you're waiting for something terrible to happen. Minji leaned back on her hands. Want some advice? Do I have a choice? Not really. Here it is. Don't trust anyone completely. Not grandmother, not the lawyers, not even Taejin. Everyone in this family has an agenda. Everyone wants something. Figure out what they want, and you'll understand what they'll do. What do you want? Minji laughed. Me! I want Taejin to be happy. He's been miserable for 2 years, walking around like a ghost, pretending he's fine when everyone can see he's dying inside. Then suddenly, he shows up with you, and for the first time in forever, he looks alive again. So whatever you're doing, keep doing it. She stood. Also, lock your door. This house is secure, but people talk. Gossip spreads. By tomorrow morning, half the family will know you're here and they'll want to see the mysterious foreign wife for themselves. Some of them won't be friendly about it. She left. Naomi locked the door, lay back down, stared at the ceiling, wondered what the hell she'd gotten herself into. Morning came too fast. Someone knocked at 6 a.m. A staff member, middle-aged woman, neutral expression, brought coffee and rice porridge and told Naomi that Madame Kang expected her downstairs in 1 hour. Naomi showered, changed into the spare clothes someone had left folded on a chair. Wondered if they'd gone through her things or if Taejin had packed a bag before she'd even noticed. Downstairs, the war room had transformed. More screens, more people. Mr. Choi was on a video call with someone speaking rapid English with an American accent. Ms. Park reviewed documents with 2 other lawyers Naomi didn't recognize. Jay sat in the corner with 3 laptops running simultaneously. Madame Kang stood at the head of the table like a general surveying her troops. Naomi, good, sit. We have updates. Naomi sat. SEC has agreed to receive the documents under whistleblower protection protocols, Mr. Choi said, ending his call. They're fast-tracking preliminary review. If the evidence holds, and Jay assures me it will, they'll open a formal investigation within 48 hours. UK Financial Conduct Authority is moving slower, Ms. Park added, but they're interested, especially since Lucien's firm has offices in London. They'll coordinate with the SEC. And Nigeria? Madame Kang asked. That's trickier. The legal system there is complicated, but I have a contact at the EFCC who's willing to look at the evidence. No promises. What about media? Financial Times is ready. I sent them a preview package last night. They want an interview with Naomi before they publish. Every head turned to look at her. Naomi's stomach dropped. An interview? Background only, Ms. Park said quickly. No cameras, no photos, just context. Why you started investigating, what you found, why you fled. They need to humanize the story, make you sympathetic. I don't want to be the story. You already are the story. The question is whether you control the narrative or Lucien does. Madame Kang moved to stand beside Naomi's chair, put a hand on her shoulder. The touch was surprisingly gentle. This is the hard part. The exposure. The vulnerability. Once your name is out there, you can't take it back. But it's also your protection. Witnesses in the public eye are harder to make disappear. Whistleblowers with media attention get security that shadows don't. When do they want to talk to me? Today. This afternoon. The reporter is flying in from London. Naomi nodded slowly. Her hands were shaking again. She pressed them between her knees. I'll do it. Good. Madame Kang squeezed her shoulder once, then moved away. What else? We have a problem, Jay said quietly. Everyone looked at him. Lucien's moving money. I've been monitoring his known accounts, the ones Naomi documented. In the past 12 hours, he's initiated transfers to 3 different offshore banks, small amounts, test runs. He's preparing to relocate assets. He knows, Mr. Choi said. Or suspects, Ms. Park corrected. Either way, if he successfully moves his money before we freeze the accounts, prosecution becomes exponentially harder. Can we stop the transfers? Madame Kang asked. Not without tipping our hand. The moment we file formal complaints with regulators, he'll get notice. Asset freezes take time to process. He could move millions in the window between filing and enforcement. Then we accelerate the timeline. To when? Tomorrow. We release everything tomorrow morning. Regulators, journalists, all of it. Simultaneous detonation. Ms. Park looked horrified. That's not enough time. It's the time we have. If Lucien moves his assets, this entire operation becomes pointless. We hit him now, while he's still vulnerable. The journalists won't be ready, Mr. Choi said. The SEC won't have completed their preliminary review. They'll catch up. We're not asking permission. We're presenting them with evidence and letting them react. Madame Kang's voice had gone cold. Final. Tomorrow morning, 6 a.m., everything goes live. Make it happen. The room erupted into controlled chaos. People making calls, typing furiously, arguing in hushed tones about legal exposure and timing and risk. Naomi sat frozen in her chair. Tomorrow. Less than 24 hours until her entire life changed. Her phone buzzed. Text from Taejin. Are you okay? She typed back. No, but I will be. His response came immediately. I'm coming to get you tonight. Grandmother can't stop me. Naomi almost smiled. Another buzz. Different number. Unknown. She opened it. Her blood turned to ice. A photo, taken this morning, of her standing in the window of the guest room. The angle suggested someone had been in the garden. Close. Too close. Below the photo, a message. Nice house. Shame if something happened to it. Tell your husband I'm done being patient. You have until midnight. After that, I start making decisions you won't like. Lucien. He knew where she was. He'd been watching. Naomi's hand shook so hard she almost dropped the phone. Ms. Park, she said. Her voice came out strangled. I think we have a bigger problem. She showed them the message. The room went silent. Then Madame Kang moved, fast, snapped orders in Korean. Security personnel appeared from nowhere. The house went into lockdown, shutters closing, doors locking, armed men taking positions at every entrance. How did he find this location? Ms. Park demanded. He followed her, Jay said, already pulling up security footage on his laptop. Look, black sedan, parked 3 blocks away. Been there since 4 a.m. Is he alone? No, 2 other vehicles, different locations. At least 6 men total. Madame Kang's expression went arctic. He brought muscle to my home, to my territory. She pulled out her phone, made a single call, spoke 3 sentences in Korean, hung up. What did you do? Naomi whispered. What I should have done the moment he touched you. I called in people who don't ask questions. She looked at Naomi. Stay away from the windows. Don't leave this room. This will be handled. Grandmother, Minji appeared in the doorway. Father is calling. He knows Naomi's here. He's demanding to speak with you. Tell him I'm busy. He says if you don't take the call, he's coming here himself. Madame Kang's jaw tightened. Put him on speaker. Minji pressed a button on her phone. A man's voice filled the room, deep, authoritative, angry. What the hell is happening? I have reports of armed men surrounding your house. Police are asking questions. And apparently my son's wife is hiding in your guest room while some foreign criminal threatens our family? Your son's wife is under my protection, Madame Kang said calmly, without consulting me, without asking the board. I don't need permission to protect family. She's not family. She's a stranger Taejin married in secret for reasons nobody understands. And now she's brought violence to our doorstep. She didn't bring anything. A corrupt lawyer did. And we're going to destroy him. We? There is no we. You're retired. You gave up operational control. You don't get to make these decisions anymore. Watch me. Silence on the other end. Then, if this goes wrong, if this man, this Lucien, causes problems for our businesses, our reputation, our political relationships, it's on you. And when the board asks why, I will tell them exactly whose decision this was. I'm aware of the stakes. Are you? Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like you're gambling everything on some girl we know nothing about. Naomi felt like she'd been slapped. That girl, Madame Kang said quietly, has more courage in one finger than most of this family has in their entire bodies. She stood up to powerful men when it would have been easier to look away. She lost everything to do the right thing, and now she's standing in my war room about to expose an international criminal, despite knowing it will make her a target for the rest of her life. So yes, I'm gambling on her, because she's worth it. Silence. Then Taejin's father hung up. Madame Kang set down the phone, looked at Naomi. You just became very expensive to protect, she said. I hope you're worth the price. Before Naomi could respond, gunfire erupted outside. Not close, maybe 2 streets away, but unmistakable. Automatic weapons, shouting. Everyone hit the floor. More gunfire. Closer this time. Then nothing. Silence. Madame Kang's phone rang. She answered, listened, hung up. Lucien's men tried to approach the perimeter. My security stopped them. Non-lethally, mostly. Police are on the way. We have approximately 4 minutes before this becomes a jurisdictional nightmare. What do we do? Ms. Park asked. We disappear Naomi. Get her somewhere Lucien can't find, somewhere even the family doesn't know about. She looked at Jay. You have that safe house in Gangnam? Yes, but take her there now. Don't tell anyone where you're going. Not me, not anyone. If Lucian's watching this house, he'll follow whoever leaves. Make sure he loses the tail. Grandmother, Naomi started. No arguments. You stay here, you become leverage. Lucien will try to negotiate, trade you for the evidence. I won't give him that option. She pulled out a card, pressed it into Naomi's hand. This has one number on it. Emergency only. You call it, and I send everything I have to get you out. But until then, disappear. Jay was already moving, grabbed Naomi's arm, pulled her toward a back staircase she hadn't known existed. They descended into darkness, through a basement, a tunnel, an underground garage that smelled like oil and old concrete. Jay opened the door of a nondescript sedan. Get in, stay low, don't look up until I tell you. Naomi slid into the back seat. The car started moving. She heard sirens approaching, saw flashing lights through the tinted windows. Then they were on the street. Moving fast. Jay drove like he'd done this before, constantly checking mirrors, taking random turns, doubling back. 30 minutes later, they pulled into an underground parking garage in a high-rise building that looked like every other high-rise in Gangnam. We're clear, Jay said. For now. They took an elevator to the 15th floor. The safe house was small. One bedroom, living room, kitchen, everything clean and sparse and temporary. Jay locked the door behind them, drew the curtains, checked his phone. Grandmother sent a message. Lucien's men are in custody. Police are handling it. But he's still out there, still moving. She says stay here until tomorrow morning. After we release the evidence, he won't matter anymore. Naomi sank onto the couch. Her whole body felt like it was vibrating with adrenaline she couldn't burn off. I need to call Taejin. No calls, nothing that can be traced. Lucien's connected. He could be monitoring phone networks. Then how do I... You don't. Not until this is over. Naomi's chest tightened. I can't just sit here and do nothing. You're not doing nothing. You're staying alive. That's the job right now. He moved to the kitchen, started making tea like this was all perfectly normal. Naomi pulled out her phone, stared at Taejin's last message. I'm coming to get you tonight. She typed, can't talk. I'm safe. Trust the plan. Hit send before Jay could stop her, then turned off her phone, sat in silence, and waited for morning to come. Bots. Midnight arrived. Naomi couldn't sleep. Jay had crashed on the couch. She could hear him snoring softly. Her phone was still off. Dead battery anyway. She stood at the window looking at Seoul's lights and wondered if Lucien was out there somewhere looking back. A sound. Soft. From the hallway outside. Jay sat up instantly, wide awake, alert. Did you hear? The door exploded inward. Not Lucien. Taejin. He stood in the doorway breathing hard, eyes wild, looking like he'd run the entire way. You turned off your phone, he said. I had to. You turned off your phone and I couldn't reach you, and nobody would tell me where you were. His voice was raw, cracking. I thought. He didn't finish, just crossed the room in 3 steps and pulled her into his arms. Held her so tight she couldn't breathe. Naomi's carefully maintained control finally shattered. She started crying, huge, ugly sobs that came from somewhere deep and broken inside her. Taejin held her through it, didn't speak, didn't try to fix anything, just held her while she fell apart. When she finally stopped, he pulled back just enough to look at her face. Tomorrow morning, this ends, he said. We release everything, we destroy him. And then you never have to run again. What if it doesn't work? Then we find another way. And another. And another. Until there are no ways left. And if he comes after me anyway? Taejin's expression went cold, final. Then I become the person I was trying not to be. And I make sure he never comes after anyone again. Behind them, Jay cleared his throat awkwardly. I'm gonna go stand in the hallway. Give you two some privacy. He left. Naomi and Taejin stood in the middle of the safe house. Outside, Seoul pulsed with life. Inside, everything had gone quiet. I'm scared, Naomi whispered. I know. I don't know if I can do this. You can. You've been doing it for 18 months. Just one more day. And then what? And then we figure out what comes next, together. The word hung between them. Together, not a contract, not an arrangement, something else. Something neither of them knew how to name yet. Naomi leaned her forehead against his chest, listened to his heartbeat. Steady, strong, real. Okay, she said. One more day. Taejin's arms tightened around her, and for the first time since Lucien walked into that café, Naomi felt like maybe, she wasn't facing this alone anymore. Outside, dawn was still hours away. But morning was coming, and with it, the point of no return. Dawn broke over Seoul like a knife cutting through skin, sharp, clean, inevitable. Naomi stood at the window of the safe house, watching the city wake up, her reflection ghosting over the glass like she was already disappearing. Behind her, Taejin slept on the couch where he'd finally crashed around 4 in the morning after checking every lock, every window, every possible entry point 3 times. Jay had left an hour ago to coordinate the final release with Madame Kang's team. 6 a.m. That was the timeline. In 45 minutes, every regulator, every journalist, every investigator would receive the evidence simultaneously, and Lucien Cole's world would end. Naomi's phone, charged now, turned back on, sat silent on the counter. No messages, no calls. The calm before detonation. Her hands wouldn't stop shaking. She pressed them flat against the cold window glass and counted her breaths. 1, 2, 3. The way her therapist in Lagos had taught her before everything went to hell, before she became someone who needed techniques to remember how to breathe. Taejin stirred, sat up. His hair stuck up at odd angles and he had pillow creases on his face that made him look younger. Almost innocent. What time is it? His voice came out rough with sleep. 5:15. 45 minutes. Yes. He stood, crossed to where she stood. Didn't touch her, but stood close enough that she could feel the heat coming off him. How do you feel? He asked. Like I'm about to jump off a cliff, and I don't know if there's water at the bottom or just rocks. There's water? You don't know that. No, but I choose to believe it anyway. Naomi almost laughed. The sound came out broken. That's not very practical. Practical got us here. Standing in a safe house waiting to destroy a man who spent 18 months hunting you. Maybe practical isn't the answer anymore. Before Naomi could respond, her phone buzzed. Text from Jay. Everything's in position. Journalists have the package. Regulators are standing by. We're go for 6 a.m. Another buzz. Different number. Madame Kang. When this is over, come to the house. We need to talk about what happens next. Then Taejin's phone rang. He checked the screen. His expression went carefully blank. It's my father. Don't answer it. I have to. If I don't, he'll know something's happening. He answered, put it on speaker. Where are you? His father demanded. No greeting, no preamble. Out. Out where? That's not your business anymore. Everything you do is my business. You're still a Kang. You don't get to pretend otherwise just because you married some woman without asking permission. Taejin's jaw tightened. Her name is Naomi. I don't care what her name is. I care that she's caused problems. Police are asking questions about last night, about armed men, about gunfire in Mother's neighborhood. Do you have any idea how much money I had to spend making that disappear? Then bill me. This isn't a joke. That lawyer, Lucien Cole, he's making noise, threatening legal action, threatening to expose our family's connections, claiming we're harboring a criminal. Naomi's not a criminal. She stole confidential documents from her employer. She exposed fraud. That's not how the law sees it, and when this blows up, and it will blow up, we're going to be caught in the blast radius. His father's voice dropped to something colder, more dangerous. I want her gone. Today. Out of Korea. Out of our lives. Give her money. Give her a visa to somewhere else. I don't care. Just make her someone else's problem. Naomi felt the words like a physical blow. Taejin's hand curled into a fist. No. I'm not asking. And I'm not negotiating. Naomi stays. We're handling Lucien. By this time tomorrow, he won't be making noise about anything. Silence on the other end. Then, what did you do? What you should have done. What this family used to do before it became more interested in looking respectable than actually being powerful. Taejin, we're done talking. Don't call me again. He hung up. The apartment went silent. Naomi stared at him. I know what I did. Your father can go to hell. Taejin's voice was steady, but his hands were shaking now too. You're my wife, not on paper, not technically, really. And that means I choose you over him, over the family, over all of it. The honesty in that statement, the raw, undefended truth, made Naomi's throat close up. Before she could respond, Jay burst through the door. His face was white. We have a problem, he said. A big one. They gathered around Jay's laptop at the kitchen counter. He pulled up an email. Recent. Sent 4 minutes ago. From lcole_legal@turson-analytics.com. 2. Multiple recipients. Subject: fraudulent claims and defamation notice. The email was long, legal, threatening. But the core message was clear. Lucien had filed preemptive lawsuits against Naomi in 3 jurisdictions: Nigeria, the UK, and South Korea, claiming she had stolen confidential client information, fabricated evidence, and was attempting to extort him. He'd also sent cease and desist letters to every journalist on their contact list, and he'd filed an emergency injunction to block the evidence release. How did he know? Naomi whispered. How did he know we were moving today? Jay scrolled down. There's more. He's named the Kang family specifically, claiming they're using their criminal connections to facilitate corporate espionage and witness tampering. He's threatening to expose every business dealing, every political connection, every questionable transaction from the past 20 years unless we back off. Taejin leaned over the laptop, read in silence. His face showed nothing, but Naomi could see the muscle ticking in his jaw. He's bluffing, Taejin said finally. He doesn't have proof of anything. He doesn't need proof, Jay said. He just needs to create enough smoke that regulators pause, that journalists second guess, that we look like the criminals instead of him. Can the injunction actually stop the release? In Korea, maybe, if he got a friendly judge. But the SEC doesn't care about Korean court orders. Neither does the FCA in London. The international releases will still happen. Then we proceed as planned. Taejin. Jay looked uncomfortable. There's something else. The email was sent to your father, to the entire Kang family board, to their lawyers. Lucien's making this about them, forcing them to choose between protecting you and protecting their interests. Taejin's phone started ringing again. His father. He declined the call. It rang again immediately. He turned it off. We're 10 minutes from release, Taejin said. We stay the course. Once the evidence is public, Lucien's lawsuits become irrelevant. No judge will side with him when the world can see proof of what he did. Unless they don't see it as proof, Naomi said quietly. Unless they see it as stolen documents from a disgruntled employee with an agenda. Lucien's smart. He's not trying to prove he's innocent. He's trying to make me look guilty enough that nobody trusts the evidence. So we discredit him first. Release everything. Let the facts speak for themselves. Jay's laptop pinged. Another email, this one from Miss Park. Emergency. Need you both at the main house immediately. Do not proceed with release until we talk. Taejin read it. No, we're not stopping now. His phone, turned back on, Naomi realized, rang again. This time it was Madame Kang. He answered. Grandmother, listen to me very carefully. Her voice was ice. Do not release anything. Do not contact journalists. Do not move from wherever you are right now. We have a situation. What situation? Lucien Cole isn't working alone. He has a partner inside the family. Someone's been feeding him information. Someone told him about the safe house, about the release timeline, about everything. Naomi's blood turned cold. Who? Taejin demanded. I don't know yet, but I will. Until then, trust no one. Not the lawyers, not the staff. No one except me and Min-ji. What about... The line went dead. Taejin stared at his phone. She hung up. Or someone cut the call, Jay said. They looked at each other. Then Jay's laptop screen went black. Not off. Black. Like someone had remotely accessed it and killed the display. What the hell? Jay frantically typed commands. Nothing happened. I'm locked out. Someone's in my system. Text message. Naomi's phone. Unknown number. You're very predictable, Naomi. Did you really think I didn't know about Madame Kang's little war room? About her secure communications? I've been inside your operation since the beginning. Every plan, every strategy, every location. I know where you are right now. I know what you're about to do. And I'm going to stop you. Not because I'm afraid of your evidence, but because you need to understand something. You don't get to win. People like you don't beat people like me. Ever. See you soon. Lucien. He was coming. We need to leave, Taejin said. Now. They ran. Down the stairs, the elevator would trap them, through the parking garage into Jay's car. He drove like hell was chasing them, because it was. Where are we going? Naomi asked. Somewhere Lucien can't follow, Taejin said. Somewhere even the family doesn't know about? Jay's phone rang. He answered on speaker while driving. Minji's voice, frantic. Jay, where are you? Grandmother's house is surrounded. Police, federal investigators. They're saying there's been a complaint about illegal surveillance and data theft. They have a warrant? For what? For everything. Computers, phones, files. They're seizing all of it. Grandmother's lawyers are fighting, but noise in the background, shouting. I have to go. Don't come here. They're arresting people. The line cut. Naomi couldn't breathe. This isn't happening. This can't be happening. Lucien set us up, Jay said. He didn't just file lawsuits. He triggered an investigation. Made it look like we're the criminals. Made it look like the Kang family was using illegal methods to target him. How did he do this so fast? Because he had help. Someone inside. Someone with access to our communications, our plans, everything. Taejin's face had gone white. Drive to Itaewon, the bookstore. We still have hard copies of the evidence there. Physical documents Lucien can't remotely delete. They drove. Seoul morning traffic swallowed them. Every car looked suspicious. Every motorcycle could be following them. 20 minutes later, they pulled up outside the bookstore. The door was open. Not broken, just unlocked, swinging slightly in the breeze. Taejin went in first. Naomi followed. The bookstore had been destroyed. Not searched. Destroyed. Shelves overturned, books everywhere, the register smashed, windows cracked. Someone had come through here with the specific intent to send a message. They climbed to the apartment. Worse. Furniture gutted, mattress slashed. Naomi's laptop, the one with the backup evidence, gone. The safe where Taejin kept physical documents, forced open, empty. Everything, gone. Naomi sank to the floor. Her legs just gave out. He took it all, she whispered. Every backup, every document, everything. Taejin stood in the middle of the wreckage. His face showed nothing, but his hands were curled into fists so tight his knuckles had gone bone white. Jay, he said quietly, do we still have the cloud backups? Jay was already checking his phone. His expression went from concerned to horrified. They're gone, deleted. Someone with admin access wiped them. When? 20 minutes ago, while we were driving. So everything's gone. Every file, every document, every piece of evidence Naomi collected. It's like it never existed. The words hung in the destroyed apartment. 18 months of work, years of documentation. The only proof that could stop Lucien. Gone. Naomi started laughing, couldn't help it. Hysterical, broken laughter that came from somewhere dark and desperate. He won, she said. He actually won. No, Taejin started. Yes, he took everything. He destroyed everything. He made me look like a criminal. And now even your family thinks I'm toxic. She looked up at him. Your father was right. I am someone else's problem. I should never have dragged you into this. Naomi, you should have let me run 18 months ago, 6 months ago, yesterday. You should have just let me go because now look what I've done. I destroyed your relationship with your family. I brought police to your grandmother's house. I got you involved in something that's going to ruin everything you've been trying to build. Taejin knelt in front of her, grabbed her shoulders. Stop. Why? It's true. It's not true. None of this is your fault. You didn't steal money. You didn't break laws. You didn't destroy evidence. You tried to do the right thing and corrupt people punished you for it. That's not on you. But I brought it to your door. And I opened that door. I chose to help. I chose to fight. I chose you. His voice cracked. I chose you, Naomi. So don't you dare try to take that choice away from me by making this about guilt or responsibility or any of that. We're in this together. Whatever happens next, we're in it together. Naomi's vision blurred. She was crying again. When had she started crying? Jay cleared his throat. I hate to interrupt, but we need to move. If Lucien knows about the bookstore, he knows we'd come here, could already have people on the way. Taejin helped Naomi to her feet. Where can we go that he hasn't already compromised? I don't know. He's been inside our communications. He knows our contacts, our safe houses, everything. Then we stop using those channels. We go dark. Old school. No phones, no computers, no electronic trail. And do what? We don't have evidence anymore. We don't have leverage. We don't have anything except a very angry lawyer with unlimited resources hunting us. Naomi's phone buzzed. She almost didn't look, almost threw it across the room. But something made her check. Text from an unknown number. Roof. Now. Come alone. Who is it? Taejin asked. I don't know. Someone wants me on the roof. That's a trap. Probably. So we're not going. But Naomi was already walking toward the stairs that led to the roof access. Something in that message, something familiar in the terseness, the command, pulled at her memory. Naomi, stop. She climbed. Taejin and Jay followed. The roof was empty, just concrete and old air conditioning units in Seoul stretching out in every direction under gray morning sky. Then a figure stepped out from behind the stairwell housing. Not Lucien. Min-ji. You came, she said. Good. We don't have much time. How did you know we'd be here? Taejin demanded. Because I know you. You're predictable. When everything else is gone, you come back to the one place that feels like home. She looked at Naomi. Did he take everything? Yes. Good. Naomi blinked. What? I said good. Because it means he thinks he's won. He thinks he's safe. He thinks all the evidence is destroyed and you're broken and there's nothing left to stop him. There isn't. Min-ji smiled. It was a cold, dangerous expression that reminded Naomi suddenly that this woman was a Kang. Born into violence and power and strategies that played out over years instead of days. That's what he's supposed to think, Min-ji said. But you're smarter than that, aren't you, Naomi? You wouldn't trust everything to electronic backups. You wouldn't put all your faith in systems that could be hacked or deleted or compromised. Naomi's heart started hammering. What are you talking about? I'm talking about the fact that you were a professional auditor who documented financial crimes for a living. I'm talking about someone who'd been threatened, fired, chased across continents. Someone who'd learned the hard way that digital evidence disappears. Min-ji pulled a small USB drive from her pocket. Someone smart enough to make a physical backup. Old-fashioned, unhackable, hidden somewhere nobody would think to look. The USB drive. Naomi had almost forgotten about it. 18 months ago, before fleeing Lagos, she'd copied everything, every file, every transaction record, every document, onto a tiny drive. Then she'd hidden it. Not in her apartment, not in a bank. Somewhere Lucien would never find it. Somewhere she'd almost forgotten herself until this moment. How did you? I didn't. Not until this morning when grandmother told me to search your room at her house, to look for anything you might have left behind. And I found this tucked inside the spine of a book on the nightstand. Poetry collection. The Sun and Her Flowers. You used it as a bookmark. Naomi's hands were shaking so hard she could barely take the drive. I thought I'd forgotten. That's the point of a good hiding place. Forget it exists until you absolutely need it. Well, you need it now. Taejin moved closer. Is that everything? Naomi whispered. The full archive. Complete documentation. It's all here. Then we still have a shot. No. Min-ji's voice cut through the sudden hope like ice. You don't. Not if you're thinking about releasing it the same way you planned before. Lucian's already poisoned that well. He's already made the Kang family toxic. Any journalist or regulator who touches this now will face lawsuits, investigations, career destruction. That route is dead. Then what do we do? Naomi asked. Min-ji looked at her for a long moment. You do something Lucien won't expect. Something that doesn't rely on institutions or regulations or legal systems he's already corrupted. You make him a deal. What kind of deal? The kind where he thinks he's getting exactly what he wants, where he thinks you're surrendering, broken, defeated, ready to hand over the last copy of the evidence in exchange for him leaving you alone. She paused. And then you destroy him face to face, personally, in a way he can't lawyer his way out of. Taejin went very still. That's dangerous. Everything's dangerous now. The question is whether you want to be dangerous back. He'll kill her. The second he has the drive, only if he gets the real drive. But what if what he gets is a fake? What if Naomi hands him a USB that looks identical but contains nothing except a virus that locks down his entire digital infrastructure? His accounts, his communications, everything. While the real evidence gets delivered simultaneously to people he hasn't threatened, people outside his sphere of influence. Jay spoke for the first time. That could work. I could build the virus, make it look exactly like Naomi's archive until he tries to access it. Then it bricks every system he owns. And who delivers the real evidence? Naomi asked. Minji's smile widened. I do. To contacts Lucien doesn't know exist. International criminal investigators. Interpol. People who don't care about his lawsuits or his threats or his connections. People who've been waiting for someone to hand them exactly this kind of proof on exactly this kind of criminal. Naomi's mind was racing. This is insane. Yes. It could get me killed. Yes. And if it works, if we actually pull this off, Lucien goes down. Really down. No escape. No lawyers. Just consequences. That's the idea. Naomi looked at Taejin. He was watching her with an expression she couldn't read. Fear, pride, something else underneath. What do you think? She asked. I think it's the worst plan I've ever heard. I think there are 1,000 ways it could go wrong. I think Lucien is smart and dangerous, and the second he suspects something, he'll kill everyone in the room. Taejin took her hand. And I think it's the only chance we have. Your grandmother can't know. If she knows, she'll try to stop it. Try to protect you through official channels that Lucien's already compromised. We do this off the books. Just us. No family resources. No backup. We make our own move. And if it fails, Taejin's expression went dark. Final. Then I make sure Lucien doesn't live to celebrate. The words should have scared Naomi. Instead, they made her feel safer than she'd felt in 18 months. Okay, she said. Let's do it. Minji pulled out a burner phone. I'll set up the meeting. Tell Lucien you're ready to surrender, ready to hand over the evidence. He'll want to meet somewhere public, somewhere he feels safe, somewhere with witnesses so you can't try anything stupid. Where? Where it started. The café in Hongdae? Full of people. Security cameras. The last place he'd expect an ambush because it's too exposed. She started typing. I'll use an anonymous account. Make it look desperate. Make it look like you're out of options. I am out of options. Good. Sell it. Make him believe he's won. That's what makes this work. The message sent. They waited. 30 seconds later, a response came. Finally. Tomorrow. 8 p.m. Same cafe. Come alone. Bring the drive. Try anything stupid, and I'll make sure you disappear so completely, even your husband won't find the body. Naomi's hands were shaking again. He bought it, Minji said. Tomorrow night. That gives us 24 hours to prepare. To prepare what? Everything. The fake drive, the virus, the real delivery route, and she looked at Taejin. An exit strategy in case this goes sideways. I'm not leaving her alone with him. You won't be alone. You'll be there, in the cafe. Close enough to act, but far enough that Lucien doesn't see you as a threat. Minji's voice dropped. This works because Naomi walks in looking defeated, broken, like she's given up. The second Lucien suspects she's got backup or a plan, he'll bolt, or worse. I don't like this. You don't have to like it. You just have to trust me. She looked at Naomi. And you have to be ready. Ready to look him in the eye and lie better than you've ever lied in your life. Can you do that? Naomi thought about 18 months of running, of fear, of looking over her shoulder, of making herself small and invisible just to survive. She thought about Lucien's hand on her wrist, his slap across her face, his confidence that he could hunt her down like prey and she'd never fight back. She thought about all the people he'd stolen from, The retirees, the families, the people who'd trusted him with everything and lost it all because he was good at hiding behind expensive suits and legal protections. Yes, she said. I can do that. Minji nodded. Then we have a plan. They climbed down from the roof, back through the destroyed bookstore, into Jay's car, and drove into Seoul's morning traffic like they were just ordinary people with ordinary problems, instead of three people planning to take down an international criminal with nothing but a USB drive and desperation. Naomi's phone buzzed one more time. Lucien, I win, Naomi. I always win. See you tomorrow. She didn't respond, just stared out the window at Seoul passing by and wondered if tomorrow she'd still be alive to see it. Taejin's hand found hers in the darkness between seats. Squeezed once. Held on. They spent the day preparing in a hotel room Minji rented under a fake name with cash. Jay built the virus. Tested it. Rebuilt it. Made it look exactly like Naomi's archive. Same file structure, same document names, same everything, until the moment someone tried to access it. Then it would lock down every system, encrypt every file, and send copies of itself to every contact in Lucien's network. It's beautiful, Jay said. Evil, but beautiful. The second he plugs this in, he's done. What if he doesn't plug it in right away? Naomi asked. What if he checks it first? Then we're gambling he's arrogant enough to think you're too beaten down to try anything clever, that you're handing over the real evidence because you have no other choice. That's a big gamble. Everything about this is a big gamble. Minji worked her contacts. International investigators. People who operated outside normal channels. People who didn't care about lawsuits or political pressure or anything except putting criminals away. They'll receive the real drive tomorrow at 8:15 p.m., she said. 15 minutes after your meeting starts. By the time Lucien realizes something's wrong, the evidence will already be in hands he can't threaten or buy. And if he figures it out during the meeting, then Taejin gets you out, fast. No hesitation, no heroics, just survival. Taejin had been quiet most of the day, sitting by the window, watching the street below. His face showed nothing, but Naomi could see the tension in his shoulders, the way his hands kept curling into fists, then releasing. You should eat something, she said. Not hungry. Taejin? I'm fine. Bestimmt. But he wasn't fine. Naomi could see that. Could see him preparing for violence, for the possibility that tomorrow night would end with him becoming exactly what he'd spent 2 years trying not to be. She sat down beside him. Talk to me. There's nothing to talk about. You're planning to kill him. Taejin didn't respond. If this goes wrong tomorrow, if he tries to hurt me, you're going to kill him. Yes. The word was flat, final, no hesitation. That's not who you want to be. No. But it's who I am. It's who I've always been underneath the bookstore and the quiet life and all the pretending. And tomorrow, he finally looked at her. Tomorrow, if he touches you, I'm going to remember exactly how to be that person. And I won't feel guilty about it. Naomi took his hand, felt the calluses, the scars he never explained, the evidence of a life lived in violence, even if he'd tried to walk away. Okay, she said, but let's try not to get there. Let's try to do this the smart way first. And if the smart way fails, then you do what you have to do, and I'll still be here after. Something in Taejin's expression cracked, just for a second. Then he pulled her close and held her like she was the only thing keeping him from falling apart completely. They stayed like that until the sun went down. 8 p.m. the next night came too fast. Naomi stood outside the Hongdae café where this had all started. Same street, same rain, same neon lights reflecting in puddles, different person walking through that door. She wore simple clothes, jeans, dark jacket, hair pulled back. The fake USB drive was in her pocket. The real one was with Minji, already on its way to investigators who would know what to do with it. Taejin was inside. She could see him through the window, sitting 3 tables away from where she and Lucien would meet, reading a book, looking like any other Seoul resident grabbing dinner alone. But she knew he had a knife in his boot, another in his jacket, and zero hesitation about using either. Jay was in a van 2 blocks away, monitoring communications, ready to trigger the virus the second Lucien confirmed he had the drive. Minji was across the city, making the real delivery, getting the actual evidence into hands that mattered. Everything was in position. Naomi took a breath, walked inside. Lucien sat at their old table, same spot, like he'd staged this deliberately, a callback, a reminder. He stood when he saw her, smiled, that warm, charming smile that had fooled so many people into trusting him. Naomi, you look tired. I am tired. Long few days? You know exactly how long they've been. His smile widened. Sit. Let's talk like civilized people. Naomi sat. Up close, Lucien looked different, older. There were dark circles under his eyes. His suit was immaculate, but his hands were shaking slightly. He was stressed, afraid beneath the confidence. Good. You have something for me, he said. Naomi pulled out the USB drive, set it on the table between them. Lucien stared at it like it was a live grenade. That's it? That's everything? Everything. Complete archive. Every transaction, every document, everything I had. How do I know you didn't make copies? You destroyed the backups. You got the laptops. You made sure every digital copy was wiped. This is all that's left. So you say. Naomi leaned forward. Let exhaustion show on her face. Let fear show. Let him see exactly what he expected to see. A broken woman who'd finally given up. Lucien, I'm done. I'm tired. I just want this to be over. You win. Take the drive. Leave me alone. Let me disappear and we both move on with our lives. He studied her, looking for the lie, the trap. Naomi didn't blink, didn't look away, just held his gaze and prayed he was arrogant enough to believe her. Finally, Lucien reached for the drive. His fingers closed around it. Smart choice, he said. You should have made it 18 months ago. Would have saved everyone a lot of trouble. Probably. He stood, pocketed the drive. You know what the funny thing is? He said. I was never going to hurt you. Not really. I just needed you scared enough to stay quiet. But you wouldn't. You kept pushing, kept digging, kept making yourself a problem. He buttoned his jacket. So this is on you. Remember that. He turned to leave. Naomi's heart hammered. This was it. The moment. Either the virus would work or... Lucien stopped, turned back. His expression had changed. The charm was gone. Something cold and calculating had taken its place. There's one thing I don't understand, he said slowly. Why now? Why give up now after fighting this hard? Because I don't have any fight left. That's not true. You had fight yesterday. You had fight when you were coordinating with the Kang family, when you were preparing to release everything. What changed? Naomi's mouth went dry. You took everything. The evidence? I took the electronic copies. But someone like you, someone paranoid enough to run halfway across the world, wouldn't trust everything to systems that could be hacked. He pulled the USB drive back out, looked at it. This feels wrong. This feels too easy. It's not, where's your husband? The question caught Naomi off guard. What? Taejin, the scary mafia prince who was so protective. Where is he? Why isn't he here making sure I don't hurt you? He doesn't know I'm here. I don't believe you. Lucien's eyes scanned the café. Customers eating, reading, talking, normal people doing normal things. His gaze landed on Taejin. Naomi saw the recognition happen, saw Lucien's expression shift from suspicion to certainty. There he is, 3 tables back, pretending to read. Lucien's smile returned, but it was vicious now, dangerous. You almost had me, really, almost. But you made one mistake. You brought backup to a surrender. That's not what people do when they've actually given up. He dropped the USB drive on the table. This is fake. It's a trap. Which means the real evidence is... His eyes went sharp. Already being delivered. Right now, while I'm distracted here. Naomi stood. Lucien, shut up. He pulled out his phone. Made a call. Priority alert. Burn protocol. Trigger everything. I don't care what it costs. He listened. His face went white. What do you mean they're already there? What do you mean it's too late? He hung up, looked at Naomi. What did you do? What I should have done 18 months ago. You just signed your own death warrant. Taejin was moving now, standing, crossing the café. His movements were controlled, but Naomi could see the violence coiled beneath the calm. Lucien saw it too. He bolted. Out the door. Into the street. Running. Taejin ran after him. Naomi followed. Rain hammered down. Seoul's neon lights blurred into streaks of color. Lucien ran like a man being chased by demons. And maybe he was. All those people he'd stolen from, all those lives he'd destroyed, catching up to him in the form of a woman who wouldn't stop fighting and a man who'd learned how to kill before he'd learned how to be gentle. Lucien cut into an alley. Taejin followed. Naomi rounded the corner just in time to see Taejin grab Lucien and slam him against a wall hard enough that the impact echoed. "You're done," Taejin said quietly. "The evidence is already with investigators. By tomorrow morning, your accounts will be frozen. Your assets seized. Your life finished. There's nothing left except how this ends." Lucien spat blood. "You think you've won? You think putting me in prison stops anything? I have friends, connections. I'll be out in a year, maybe 2, and then I'll come back and I'll finish what I started." Taejin's hand moved to his jacket, where the knife was. Naomi saw the intention, saw him deciding, saw him about to become the thing he'd spent 2 years trying not to be. "Taejin, don't—" Sirens. Close. Getting closer. Blue and red lights strobing through the rain. Police. Too many to fight, too many to run from. They flooded into the alley. Someone shouted in Korean, "Hands up, get down." Standard commands. But these weren't regular police. These were international investigators. Interpol. The people Minji had contacted, and they weren't here for Taejin. One of them, a woman with short gray hair and a badge that said NCB Seoul, walked straight to Lucien. "Mon. Lucien Cole, you're under arrest for international fraud, money laundering, and embezzlement across multiple jurisdictions. You have the right to—" She continued reading rights. Lucien screamed. Actually screamed. "This is illegal. You can't do this. I have diplomatic immunity. I have lawyers." "Your lawyers have already been notified. They'll meet you at processing." They cuffed him, led him away. He looked back once at Naomi, and she saw it in his eyes. The moment he realized he'd lost. Really lost. That there was no escape, no lawyer, no connection that could save him now. Then he was gone. The alley went quiet except for rain and distant sirens. Taejin still had his hand in his jacket, on the knife. Naomi walked to him, put her hand over his. "You can let go now," she said softly. "It's over." His hand was shaking. But you didn't. I wanted to." "I know, but you didn't. That's what matters." Taejin's hand finally released the knife. He pulled Naomi close and buried his face in her shoulder, and she felt him shake with something that might have been relief or grief or both. Behind them, Minji stepped out of the shadows. "The evidence is secured," she said. "Investigators confirm they have everything. Lucien's accounts are already being frozen. His firm is under investigation. Everyone connected to him is running for cover." "It worked," Naomi said numbly. "It actually worked. Yes." "What happens now?" Minji smiled. "Now you disappear for a while. Let the legal system do what it does. Testify when they need you. Otherwise," she shrugged, "otherwise you live. Really live. Not hiding, not running, just living." Naomi looked at Taejin. He looked back. And for the first time in 18 months, maybe longer, Naomi felt like she could finally breathe. The rain didn't stop. Naomi stood in the alley watching Lucien disappear into the back of an unmarked vehicle, his screaming fading beneath the sound of engines and sirens and Seoul's relentless downpour. Her clothes were soaked through. Her hands wouldn't stop shaking. The adrenaline that had carried her through the past hour was draining away, leaving nothing but exhaustion and a hollow ache in her chest that felt like grief for something she couldn't name. Taejin still held her. His grip hadn't loosened. His face was pressed against her shoulder, and she could feel him breathing, sharp, irregular breaths that came from somewhere deep and broken. "We should go," Minji said quietly. She stood a few feet away, phone in hand, watching the police light strobe across wet concrete. "Before someone starts asking questions we don't want to answer." Naomi nodded, but couldn't make herself move. Her legs felt distant, disconnected. "Naomi," Taejin's voice, rough. close to her ear. Can you walk? I think so. Then we walk. Now. He kept one arm around her waist as they moved. Minji led them through back alleys and side streets, away from the main road where too many cameras and too many witnesses would remember 3 people fleeing a crime scene. Not that it was a crime scene anymore. Lucien was in custody. The evidence was with investigators. Everything was legal now, sanctioned, official. So why did Naomi feel like she was still running? They reached Jay's van 3 blocks away. He had the engine running, door open, looking like he'd aged 5 years in the past 2 hours. Get in, he said. We need to move before... His phone rang. He checked the screen. His face went white. It's your father. Taejin's entire body went rigid. Don't answer it. He'll know something's wrong if I don't. He's been calling every 10 minutes. Then let him know something's wrong. I don't care anymore. Jay answered anyway. Put it on speaker. Kang Jae-sung's voice filled the van, cold, controlled, furious. Where's my son? Right here, Taejin said before Jay could respond. What did you do? What you should have done. What this family used to do before it became more interested in appearances than justice. You authorized an international arrest on Korean soil without family approval, without legal consultation, without anyone's permission. I didn't need permission. You involved Interpol, you involved foreign investigators. You created an incident that's going to have diplomatic repercussions for months. The board is in emergency session right now trying to contain the damage you've caused. There is no damage. A criminal was arrested. That's all. A criminal with connections, with lawyers, with friends and governments we do business with. His father's voice dropped to something colder, more dangerous. You didn't think this through. You acted on emotion. You put this family at risk for a woman you barely know. Taejin's hand curled into a fist against his thigh. Her name is Naomi, and she's my wife. That makes her family. That makes her worth protecting. She's a liability, an outsider who brought violence to our doorstep. And now you've made it worse by turning a private matter into an international incident. It was never private. Lucien Cole stole from hundreds of people, destroyed lives, broke laws across multiple countries. Naomi tried to stop him and got hunted for it. That's not private. That's criminal. And if you can't see that, if you're more worried about business relationships than actual justice, then maybe I don't want to be part of this family anymore? Silence on the other end. Then, is that your final decision? Taejin looked at Naomi. She could see the war happening behind his eyes. The weight of 3 generations of family legacy pressing down against the fragile new thing growing between them. Yes, he said quietly. It is. Then you're making a mistake. When this blows up, and it will blow up, don't come running back to us for protection. You're on your own. The line went dead. The van was silent except for rain hammering the roof. Taejin sat very still. His face showed nothing, but Naomi could see the muscle ticking in his jaw, could see his hand shaking. I'm sorry, she whispered. Don't. His voice came out harsh. Don't apologize for him being exactly what I knew he was. But your family chose their reputation over doing the right thing. That's not a family. That's a business. And I'm done pretending there's a difference. Minji leaned forward from the back seat. You know this isn't over, right? Father will retaliate. Not physically, not obviously, but there will be consequences. Financial, social. He'll make sure every door that was ever open to you slams shut. Let him. Taejin, I said let him. I have a bookstore. I have savings. I have skills. I don't need the Kang name or the Kang money or any of it. He looked at Naomi. I just need to know she's safe. Something in Naomi's chest cracked open. Not breaking. Opening. Like a door she'd kept locked for 18 months finally giving way. Before she could respond, Jay's phone buzzed again. He checked it. It's the investigator, the woman who arrested Lucien. She wants to meet, tonight, says it's urgent. Where? Her hotel, Gangnam. She says, come alone, but I don't think she actually means alone. I think she means come without an army. Taejin looked at Naomi. Do you want to do this tonight? You don't have to. You can rest. Sleep. Process. But Naomi was already shaking her head. No, I want to know what happens next. I want to know if this is really over or if there's more coming. There's always more coming. Then I want to know what it is. They drove. Seoul at night was all neon and shadow, millions of people living their lives while Naomi's entire world was being rebuilt from smoking wreckage. She watched the city slide past the rain-streaked windows and tried to feel victorious, tried to feel relieved. All she felt was tired. The investigators' hotel was expensive, corporate, anonymous, the kind of place international law enforcement used when they needed to disappear into a city without drawing attention. Agent Sarah Chen waited in the lobby bar. She'd changed out of her tactical gear into civilian clothes, dark pants, simple blouse, badge clipped to her belt where it would be visible but not aggressive. She stood when she saw them approach. Ms. Adebayo, Mr. Kang, thank you for coming. Her English carried a slight British accent underneath American pronunciation. Hong Kong educated, Naomi guessed. Please sit. Can I get you anything? Coffee? Water? Information, Naomi said. You said it was urgent. Agent Chen nodded. Direct. I appreciate that. Yes. We need to talk about what happens next, specifically what happens to you. Me? Lucien Cole is in custody, but he's also lawyered up. Very expensive lawyers. Very connected lawyers. And they're already building a defense that paints you as a thief who stole confidential client information and fabricated evidence to extort their client. Naomi's stomach dropped. I know it's not true. The evidence speaks for itself, but evidence has to be introduced in court, authenticated, verified. And that means you're going to be the star witness in a trial that could take years, multiple jurisdictions, multiple legal systems. You'll be deposed, cross-examined. Your entire life will be picked apart by lawyers whose job is to destroy your credibility. I knew that was possible. Possible is different from probable. And right now, probable is what you're facing. Lucien's legal team has already filed motions challenging the arrest, claiming it was politically motivated, that the Kang family used their criminal connections to manufacture evidence and frame an innocent man. Taejin leaned forward. That's insane. That's effective. They don't have to prove it. They just have to create enough doubt that judges start questioning whether the evidence was obtained legally, whether you're a reliable witness, whether this entire thing is a vendetta rather than legitimate prosecution. So what are you saying? Naomi asked. That we went through all of this for nothing? No, I'm saying we went through all of this to get to the hard part. The part where you have to decide if you're willing to fight this battle publicly, in courtrooms, in media, with your name and face attached to everything, or, Agent Chen paused, or we find another way. What other way? Lucien's not stupid. He knows the evidence is damning. He knows that if this goes to trial, he'll likely lose. But trials are expensive, uncertain, public. So there's a possibility, and this is preliminary, not official, completely off the record, that his lawyers might approach us about a deal. What kind of deal? The kind where he pleads guilty to reduce charges, serves some time, pays restitution. And in exchange, Agent Chen looked directly at Naomi. In exchange, you don't have to testify. Your name stays relatively private. You get to move on with your life instead of spending the next 5 years in and out of courtrooms. Naomi felt like she'd been punched. You want me to let him off easy. I want you to consider what justice actually looks like. Is it him serving 15 years instead of 20? Is it you getting your life back? Is it the victims getting their money returned? There are a lot of ways to win this. Not all of them require maximum punishment. He deserves maximum punishment. Maybe. But do you deserve to sacrifice the next 5 years of your life to make sure he gets it? That's the real question. Naomi looked at Taejin. He was watching her with that careful, neutral expression that meant he was holding back every opinion, every instinct, waiting for her to decide. What do you think? She asked him. I think I'll support whatever you choose. That's not an answer. Yes, it is. His hand found hers under the table. You've been running from this for 18 months. You've been terrified and alone and fighting just to survive. If you want to keep fighting, if you want to see him burn completely, I'll stand beside you through every deposition, every court appearance, every minute of it. But if you want to walk away, if you want to take the deal and get your life back, that's okay too. You don't owe anyone maximum vengeance. I owe it to the people he stole from. You gave them evidence. You gave them justice. How much justice is enough? That's not for me to decide. That's yours. Naomi closed her eyes, tried to think, but her brain felt like static. I need time, she said finally. Agent Chen nodded. You have 48 hours. Then Lucien's lawyers will either offer a deal or dig in for a long fight. Whatever you decide, decide soon. She stood, handed Naomi a business card. My direct number. Call any time, day or night. I mean that. She left. Naomi sat staring at the business card. Sarah Chen, Interpol Financial Crimes Division. A phone number, an email address. The physical evidence that this was real, that Lucien was actually in custody, that 18 months of running had led to this moment, and she felt nothing, no triumph, no relief, just exhaustion so deep it felt like drowning. Let's go home, Taejin said quietly. Where's home? The bookstore, our apartment. It's destroyed, but it's still ours. We'll clean it up, make it livable again, start over. And if your family comes after us, then we deal with it, together. That word again, together. Naomi stood. Her legs felt weak, but they held. They walked out into Seoul's rain, and it felt like baptism, like washing away everything that came before. Like maybe she could start becoming someone new. But the bookstore looked worse in daylight. Naomi stood in the doorway the next morning staring at overturned shelves, scattered books, broken glass. Evidence of violence. Evidence that Lucien had been here. Had destroyed this place looking for something to leverage against her. Where do we start? She asked. Taejin was already moving, picking up books, stacking them carefully. We start with the books, then the shelves, then everything else. They worked in silence. Hours passed. The destroyed bookstore slowly started to look less like a crime scene and more like a renovation project. Books back on shelves. Glass swept up, furniture righted. Around noon, someone knocked on the door. Taejin answered. Madame Seo Kang stood on the threshold. She looked smaller than Naomi remembered, older, tired in a way that expensive clothes and perfect posture couldn't hide. May I come in? She asked. Taejin stepped aside. She walked through the bookstore like she was inspecting damage after a natural disaster. Took in every broken shelf, every scattered book, every visible scar. I heard what happened, she said finally. With Lucien, with the arrest, with your father. Then you know why I'm not coming back, Taejin said. Yes, I know. I also know you made the right choice. Taejin went very still. What? I said you made the right choice. Your father is a businessman. He sees everything through profit and loss, risk and reward. He doesn't understand that some things matter more than balance sheets. She looked at Naomi. You fought for justice when it would have been easier to run. That takes courage, real courage, the kind this family used to have before we got soft. Grandmother, I'm not finished. Your father thinks you've made a mistake, that you've thrown away your legacy for a woman you barely know. But I've watched you for 2 years, watched you die slowly inside that fake peaceful life you built, watched you pretend you were happy when anyone with eyes could see you were miserable. She moved closer. Then she appeared, and suddenly you were alive again, fighting, making decisions, becoming the man I always knew you could be. So no, you didn't make a mistake. You made the first real choice of your adult life. Taejin's eyes were wet. He looked away. Madame Kang turned to Naomi. I have something for you. She pulled an envelope from her coat, handed it over. Naomi opened it. Inside were documents, legal documents, adoption papers. What is this? Formal family registry. In Korean law, you're already Taejin's wife, but this makes it official with the family, makes you a Kang, gives you protection, resources, everything that name carries. I don't want your name. I'm not asking what you want. I'm telling you what you're getting. Your family now. That means when your father-in-law tries to make your life difficult, and he will, you have recourse. You have the family seal. You have access to accounts and lawyers and everything else. She paused. And it means that when the board tries to challenge Taejin's decisions, they have to go through me. and I don't challenge easily. Naomi looked at Taejin. He looked as shocked as she felt. You're protecting us, he said slowly, against father, against the board. I'm protecting what's left of this family's soul. Your father can have the business, the money, the reputation. But you, she touched his face gently, you get to be free, really free. And that's worth more than anything he could ever build. She left before either of them could respond. The bookstore was quiet again. Naomi stared at the documents in her hand. Legal proof that she belonged somewhere, that she had family, that she wasn't alone anymore. She started crying. Taejin pulled her close, and they stood there, surrounded by damaged books and broken furniture and the wreckage of everything that came before, and somehow it felt like the safest place Naomi had ever been. 48 hours passed faster than Naomi wanted. She spent them cleaning the bookstore, talking to Agent Chen on the phone, reading through legal documents she barely understood, trying to decide if she wanted justice or peace or something in between. Taejin never pushed, never offered opinions unless she asked, just stayed close and kept working and existed as solid, steady presence while she figured out what came next. On the second night, Minji showed up with food and news. Lucien's lawyers made the offer, she said, setting down bags of takeout. Reduced charges, 7 years minimum, full restitution to victims, no trial, no testimony required from you. 7 years, Naomi repeated. That's it? For stealing $40 million and destroying hundreds of lives? Plus restitution, plus permanent disbarment, plus his reputation destroyed internationally. He'll never practice law again, never work in finance. He'll serve his time and come out with nothing. Minji pulled out her phone, showed Naomi an article. And this, Financial Times published the full investigation this morning. Every detail, every victim, every transaction. His name is permanently tied to fraud. Even after prison, he's finished. Naomi read the article, saw her own name, Naomi Adebayo, whistleblower and former auditor, credited with exposing the scheme, saw quotes from victims, saw Lucien's photo looking haggard and defeated, saw proof that the story was out, that the truth was public, that she'd won even if it didn't feel like winning. What happens if I say no to the deal, she asked. Then it goes to trial. Multiple trials across multiple jurisdictions. Could take 5 years, maybe longer. You'd have to testify repeatedly. Lucien's lawyers would try to destroy you on the stand, cross-examine every decision you ever made, paint you as unstable, vindictive, criminal. It would be brutal. And if I say yes, then it's over. He pleads guilty next week, goes straight to prison. Victims start getting restitution within 60 days. You get to disappear and live your life. Naomi looked at Taejin. What would you do? I'd ask myself what I actually want. Do you want revenge? Do you want him to suffer as much as possible, or do you want your life back? I want both. You can't have both, that's the choice. Naomi set down her food, stood, walked to the window. Seoul glowed outside, millions of people living their lives, unaware that her entire future hung on this one decision. She thought about the past 18 months, the fear, the loneliness, the constant looking over her shoulder. She thought about the victims, the retirees who lost their pensions, the families who lost their savings. She thought about Lucien sitting in a cell right now, his perfect life destroyed, everything he'd built crumbling. She thought about Taejin standing behind her in this bookstore, offering her a future instead of a prison sentence disguised as justice. I want my life back, she said quietly. Minji nodded. I'll tell Agent Chen. The deal moves forward. Just like that? Just like that. Naomi turned. It doesn't feel like enough. It never does, Minji said. Justice rarely feels like enough. But it's what we have, and sometimes what we have is enough to let us move forward. She left. Naomi stood at the window while Taejin cleaned up the takeout containers. The bookstore was almost repaired now. Another few days, and it would be ready to reopen, ready to welcome customers again, ready to be the quiet, peaceful place Taejin had built before Naomi walked into his life and brought chaos with her. Do you regret it? She asked. Meeting me? Marrying me? All of it? Taejin stopped what he was doing, came to stand beside her at the window. No, he said simply. I regret that it was hard. that you suffered, that Lucien hunted you. But I don't regret you. I've never regretted you. Even though I destroyed your relationship with your family, you didn't destroy anything. You revealed what was already broken. There's a difference. And the bookstore, your quiet life, was slowly killing me. I just didn't realize it until I had something worth protecting again. He took her hand. You gave me purpose. Real purpose. Not running an empire. Not managing criminal enterprises. Just fighting for something that mattered. Fighting for someone who deserved it. That's not something I regret. Naomi leaned her head against his shoulder. What do we do now? Now we rebuild. The bookstore, our life, everything. We figure out what comes next. Together. There was that word again. Together. It was starting to feel real. Well, the deal was finalized 3 days later. Lucien Cole pleaded guilty to fraud, embezzlement, and money laundering across 3 jurisdictions. Accepted a 7-year minimum sentence. Agreed to full restitution. The news broke internationally. Naomi watched it on her phone. Legal analysts discussing the case, victims being interviewed, Lucien being led into court in handcuffs and an orange jumpsuit that made him look small and ordinary, and nothing like the polished predator who'd slapped her in that café. Agent Chen called personally. It's done. He'll be transferred to a federal facility within the week. Restitution process starts immediately. And you... She paused. You're free. Really free. No more looking over your shoulder. No more running. He can't touch you anymore. Thank you. Don't thank me. You did the hard part. You kept the evidence. You stayed alive. You fought back. All I did was arrest him. The victory is yours. The call ended. Naomi sat in the repaired bookstore, shelves restocked, windows fixed, everything almost normal, and tried to feel victorious. Instead, she felt hollowed out, empty, like she'd been running for so long that standing still felt wrong. Taejin found her there an hour later. How do you feel? He asked. I don't know. I thought I'd feel relieved, happy, something. Instead, I just feel... She searched for the word. Untethered. Like I don't know who I am if I'm not running anymore. Then we figure it out. Who you are. Who you want to be. What you want to do with a life that's actually yours again. And you? Who are you if you're not the mafia heir pretending to be a bookstore owner? Taejin sat down beside her. I'm the man who's married to you. That's enough for now. Everything else can wait. Before Naomi could respond, the bookstore door opened. A man walked in. Tall, expensive suit, hard eyes that scanned the room like he was cataloging threats. Kang Jae-sung, Taejin's father. Taejin stood immediately, moved between his father and Naomi. Protective, instinctive. What do you want? He asked. To talk to my son and his wife about what happens next. There's nothing to talk about. You made your position clear. We made ours. We're done. Are we? Because I've been thinking about that conversation, about the things I said, the things you said. He looked at Naomi. And the things I should have said but didn't. Naomi stood slowly. Like what? Like I'm sorry for dismissing you, for treating you like a problem instead of a person, for prioritizing business relationships over family. He paused. Your grandmother made it very clear that I was wrong, loudly, repeatedly, for 3 days. Despite everything, Naomi almost smiled. She has a way of making her point. Yes, she does. And her point was this. You risked everything to do the right thing. You stood up to powerful people who tried to destroy you. You fought back when it would have been easier to surrender. That takes courage, real courage, the kind this family used to value before we forgot what actually mattered. So you're here to apologize, Taejin asked. His voice was flat, skeptical. I'm here to try. I'm here to say that I was wrong about her, wrong about you, wrong about what kind of man you've become. He looked at his son. You're better than me, better than I ever was. And instead of being proud of that, I tried to make you smaller, tried to make you fit into the box I built instead of letting you build something new. That was my failure, not yours. Taejin's expression didn't change, but Naomi saw his hands unclench slightly. What do you want from us? He asked. Nothing. I want to offer you something. The bookstore, it's destroyed, yes, but repairable. I want to help repair it. Not as control, not as leverage, just as, he struggled with the word, as support. Family support. Let me help you rebuild. Let me show you I meant what I said. I don't need your money. I know, but maybe I need to give it anyway. Maybe I need to prove I can be the kind of father who supports his son instead of controlling him. Silence filled the bookstore. Naomi looked at Taejin. This was his decision, his family, his choice whether to rebuild this bridge or let it stay burned. One condition, Taejin said finally. Name it. You respect her. You respect us. You respect that our marriage isn't a business arrangement or a political alliance. It's real. And if you can't accept that, if you're going to keep treating her like an outsider, then your money stays in your pocket and we stay strangers. Kang Jae-sung looked at Naomi. Really looked at her. Seeing her maybe for the first time as an actual person instead of a problem to be managed. I can accept that, he said quietly. He pulled out a checkbook, wrote something, handed it to Taejin. For the repairs, for the business, for whatever you need, no strings, no expectations, just a father helping his son. He turned to leave, stopped at the door. Your grandmother also wanted me to tell you something. She said, he almost smiled. She said she's proud of you, both of you, and that you're welcome at her house anytime, for dinner, for family gatherings, for whatever. You're still Kang's. That doesn't change just because you chose a different path. He left. The bookstore was quiet again. Taejin looked at the check in his hand, looked at Naomi. Did that just happen? I think so. My father just apologized. Apparently, and offered support without conditions. Seems that way. Taejin sat down heavily. I don't know what to do with that. Maybe you don't have to do anything. Maybe you just accept it. Let it be what it is, a small step toward something better. Is it enough? I don't know, but it's more than nothing, and right now, more than nothing feels like progress. Taejin pulled her close, held her like she was the only solid thing in a world that kept shifting. And for the first time since this all started, since Lucien walked into that café, since her world exploded, since she stopped running, Naomi felt like maybe things were actually going to be okay. Not perfect, not easy, but okay. And okay was enough. 2 weeks later, the bookstore reopened. Taejin had used his father's money to repair the damage. New shelves, new windows, new sign outside that read Phoenix Books in Korean and English. Naomi's suggestion, Taejin's approval. Rising from the ashes, starting over. They'd sent invitations to the neighborhood, posted on social media, told regular customers the date. The opening was supposed to be small, quiet, just a few people browsing books and drinking coffee. Instead, 50 people showed up. Former customers, neighbors, students from Naomi's English class. Even Minji and Jay, standing in the corner making jokes and looking uncomfortable in a room full of normal people doing normal things. And in the back, sitting quietly with a cup of tea and a small, satisfied smile. Madame Seo Kang. Naomi moved through the crowd, greeting people, answering questions about the new inventory, pretending this was normal, pretending she wasn't a woman who'd spent 18 months running from an international criminal who'd tried to destroy her life, pretending she was just a bookstore owner's wife. Maybe someday that would feel true. Around 8 p.m., the crowd started thinning, people leaving, saying goodbye, promising to come back. By 9, only family remained. Madame Kang approached Naomi. You did well tonight. I didn't do anything. I just stood here. You survived. You rebuilt. You showed everyone that you're more than the trauma that tried to break you. That's not nothing. It doesn't feel like enough. It never does. But small victories matter. They add up. And eventually you look back and realize you've built an entire life out of small victories strung together. Is that what you did? Every day for 60 years. She squeezed Naomi's hand. You'll be fine. You're stronger than you think, and you have him. She nodded toward Taejin, who was helping Minji move chairs. He's a good man. Flawed, complicated, but good. Don't let him forget that. I won't. Madame Kang left. Minji and Jay followed soon after. Finally, it was just Naomi and Taejin in the quiet bookstore. They locked the door. turned off most of the lights, stood in the dim space surrounded by books and coffee cups, and evidence of normal life happening. "How do you feel?" Taejin asked. Naomi thought about it, really thought about it. "Tired," she said finally, "hopeful, scared, grateful. All of it at once." "That sounds about right." "Is this what normal feels like?" "I don't know. I've never tried it before." "Me neither." They stood there for a moment. Then Taejin pulled her close, and they slow danced to silence in the middle of their rebuilt bookstore while Seoul glowed outside the windows. And for the first time in 18 months, maybe longer, Naomi felt like she was exactly where she was supposed to be. Not running, not hiding, just living, just existing as herself, just breathing. It was enough. It was more than enough. It was everything. Dimbasin. The phone rang at 3 in the morning. Naomi jolted awake. Beside her, Taejin was already moving, reaching for his phone, checking the screen, his face going from sleepy to alert in seconds. "It's Agent Chen," he said. He answered, "Put it on speaker." "I'm sorry to call so late," Chen's voice said, "but we have a situation. Lucien Cole escaped custody 6 hours ago during a prison transfer. He's gone, and his last known communication was a text message to his lawyer containing one word, Naomi. The world stopped. Naomi couldn't breathe, couldn't think. Lucien was free, and he was coming for her. "Where is he now?" Taejin asked. His voice was deadly calm. "We don't know. He disabled his tracking anklet, disappeared into Seoul. We have teams searching, but—" Chen paused. "You need to get somewhere safe, now. Somewhere he can't find you, somewhere fortified." "How long do we have?" "I don't know, maybe hours, maybe minutes, but he's out there. And he's not running, he's hunting." The call ended. Taejin looked at Naomi, and she saw it in his eyes. The quiet bookstore owner was gone. The man underneath, the one who'd killed before, the one who'd walked away from violence but never forgot how, was rising to the surface. "Get dressed," he said quietly. "Pack light. We're leaving." "Where are we going?" "Somewhere Lucien can't follow, somewhere I can make sure he never touches you again." Taejin, no arguments. Not this time. He broke free because he's desperate. Desperate men are dangerous, and I'm not letting him anywhere near you. He pulled out his phone, made a call, spoke rapid Korean. When he hung up, his face was set, determined. "Minji's bringing a car. Jay's activating every security contact we have. My grandmother's mobilizing family resources, and He looked at her. "I'm going to do what I should have done in that alley, what I wanted to do every time he touched you, what I've been holding back because I was trying to be someone better than who I used to be." "What are you saying?" "I'm saying when Lucien comes, and he will come, I'm going to end this, permanently, completely. No lawyers, no trials, no second chances." "That's murder." "I know. You'll go to prison." "I know." "Then why?" "Because you're more important than my freedom. You're more important than my conscience. You're more important than anything." He pulled her close. "And I would rather spend the rest of my life in prison, knowing you're safe, than spend one more second pretending I can protect you through legal channels that keep failing." Naomi's heart hammered. "There has to be another way." "There isn't. Not anymore. Lucien made sure of that when he escaped, when he chose revenge over self-preservation. So now we end this. Tonight. One way or another." A car horn outside. Minji. They ran. Down the stairs, into the street, into the waiting vehicle. Minji drove like hell was chasing them. Because it was. Somewhere in Seoul's neon-lit darkness, Lucien Cole was hunting. And Naomi knew, absolutely knew, that before sunrise, everything would change again. The only question was whether she'd survive it. The safe house Minji chose wasn't in Seoul. They drove north for 2 hours through rain that never stopped, through mountains that swallowed the highway in darkness, until they reached a compound that looked like it had been built for war. High walls, security cameras, armed guards at the gate who recognized Minji's car and waved them through without questions. "Where are we?" Naomi asked. "Somewhere the family used before we got respectable," Minji said. "Before we pretended we weren't what we actually are. This is where we brought people we needed to protect, or people we needed to make disappear, depending." The main building was concrete and steel disguised as a traditional Korean house, beautiful on the outside, fortress on the inside. Taejin helped Naomi out of the car. His hand on her lower back was steady, but she could feel the tension radiating through him like electricity before a storm. Inside, the house was sparse, functional. A living room with reinforced windows, a kitchen stocked like someone expected a siege, bedrooms with locks on the outside of the doors, rooms meant for holding people, not housing them. Jay was already there, surrounded by laptops and monitors showing security feeds from every angle of the property. "Perimeter is secure," he said without looking up. "Thermal cameras, motion sensors. If anything bigger than a cat approaches, we'll know about it." "And if Lucien's already here?" Naomi asked. Her voice came out thin, shaky. "Then the sensors would have caught him. They didn't. You're safe. For now." For now. Those two words carried the weight of everything unsaid. Taejin moved to the weapons cabinet, unlocked it. Inside were things Naomi had only seen in movies: handguns, rifles, knives of various sizes and purposes. He selected a pistol, checked it with practiced efficiency, loaded it, tucked it into his waistband. Then he picked up a knife, long, tactical, designed for close work. "You know how to use those?" Naomi asked. Taejin looked at her. "Yes." Have you killed people before?" The question hung in the air. Minji and Jay went very still. "Yes," Taejin said quietly. "I have. When I was younger. When I was the person the family needed me to be. People who threatened us. People who broke agreements. People who tried to take what was ours." He set down the knife. "I'm not proud of it. But I'm not ashamed either. It was what it was. And if I have to become that person again to keep you alive, I will. Without hesitation." Naomi's hands were shaking. "I don't want you to kill for me." "Then what do you want? You want me to let him walk up to you? Let him take you? Let him finish what he started? I want there to be another way." "There isn't. Not anymore. Lucien chose this. He escaped. He came after you. He made this personal. Now it ends the only way it can end. With blood. Yes, with blood. His or mine. Those are the options." Naomi felt tears burning behind her eyes, but refused to let them fall. "What if it's both? What if you kill him and the police arrest you, and I lose you anyway? Then you lose me. But you're alive. And that's what matters. Not to me. Not if the cost is you spending the rest of your life in prison. Naomi, I can't let you throw your life away for me. I won't." Taejin crossed the room, took her face in his hands, made her look at him. "You don't get to decide that," he said. "You don't get to choose what I sacrifice. That's my choice. And I'm choosing you, every time, no matter the cost." Before Naomi could respond, every monitor in the room lit up red. Jay's fingers flew across keyboards. "Motion detected, east perimeter, 200 meters out." "Is it him?" Minji asked. "Can't tell yet. Thermal signature is obscured. Whoever it is knows we have cameras, and they're using the terrain to hide their heat signature." "That's not a random hiker," Taejin said. "No, that's someone who knows what they're doing." The monitors flickered. One screen went black. "He's cutting cameras," Jay said, working his way toward the main building. "We have maybe 5 minutes before he reaches the inner perimeter." Taejin moved. "Minji, take Naomi to the safe room. Jay, kill all the lights. Make him work for it." "What are you going to do?" Naomi asked. Taejin checked his pistol one more time. "What I'm good at." "Taejin, go. Now. I can't protect you if I'm worried about where you are." Minji grabbed Naomi's arm, pulled her toward a hallway, a hidden door, stairs descending into darkness. The safe room was underground. Concrete walls, steel door, no windows. A panic room designed to withstand anything short of explosives. Minji locked the door behind them. The sound of the bolt sliding home felt like a coffin closing. "He'll be okay," Minji said. "Taejin knows what he's doing. He's been trained for this since he was 15. Combat, strategy, everything. Lucien's just a lawyer playing soldier. He doesn't stand a chance." But Naomi had seen Lucien's eyes in that café, had seen the cold calculation, the willingness to do anything to win. Desperation made people dangerous, and Lucien was desperate. Above them, the lights went out. The house went silent. And somewhere in that darkness, two men, who'd both promised to protect her, were about to collide. The darkness was absolute. Taejin moved through the house like a ghost, his eyes already adjusted to the lack of light, his body remembering muscle memory from training he'd tried to forget. Every creak of floorboards, every shift in air pressure, every sound cataloged and processed. He'd killed in darkness before. It was easier that way, less personal, just shapes and breathing and the efficient application of force. He told himself this would be different. He told himself Lucien deserved this. He told himself he was protecting Naomi, not indulging old instincts. But underneath all the justifications, he knew the truth. Part of him wanted this, wanted the violence, wanted to stop pretending he was reformed when the monster inside him had never actually died. A sound. East side. Second floor. Window sliding open. Taejin moved toward it. Silent, controlled. He reached the hallway just as a figure slipped through the window. Tall, moving cautiously but not carefully enough. Lucien. He had a gun. Small caliber. Probably stolen during the escape. His hands shook slightly as he advanced down the hallway. Amateur. Taejin let him get 3 steps inside before he moved. He came from behind, fast. One hand disarming Lucien, the other going for his throat. They crashed into the wall hard enough to crack plaster. Lucien gasped, tried to fight, threw wild punches that Taejin blocked easily. "You should have stayed in custody," Taejin said quietly. "Where is she?" Lucien choked out. "Where's Naomi?" "Somewhere you'll never reach." "I don't want to hurt her. I just want to talk. To explain." Taejin tightened his grip. "You hit her. You hunted her. You tried to destroy her life. You don't get to explain anything." Lucien's hand scrabbled at his belt. Found something. Knife. Small, but sharp. He slashed upward. Taejin twisted, but not fast enough. The blade caught his forearm. Pain flared hot and immediate. He released Lucien and stepped back. They faced each other in the darkness. Both armed now, both bleeding. "I didn't want this," Lucien said. His voice was ragged, desperate. "I didn't want any of this. I just wanted the evidence gone. I wanted to protect what I'd built. Is that so wrong? Protecting what's yours? You stole from people, destroyed their lives. I took opportunities. I made moves. That's business. That's how the world works." "No, that's how criminals justify being criminals." Lucien laughed, bitter, broken. "And what are you? The moral authority? You're mafia. Your family built their empire on violence and corruption and everything you're accusing me of. At least I wore a suit. At least I pretended to be civilized. I never pretended I was anything except what I am. And what are you? A killer playing bookstore owner? A gangster pretending he's reformed because he fell for some girl who needed saving?" The words hit harder than they should have, because they were true, partially true, enough truth to cut. "I'm the man standing between you and her," Taejin said. "That's all that matters right now." Lucien moved, fast, desperate speed driven by knowing he had nothing left to lose. The knife came at Taejin's throat. He blocked, countered, his own knife finding flesh, Lucien's shoulder, deep enough to hurt, not deep enough to stop him. They fought like animals, no technique, no strategy, just 2 men trying to kill each other in the dark. Furniture crashed, glass broke, blood slicked the floor. Taejin was better trained, stronger, more experienced. But Lucien was desperate, and desperation was its own kind of strength. The fight spilled into the kitchen. Lucien grabbed a pan off the stove, swung it like a club, caught Taejin across the temple. Stars exploded behind Taejin's eyes. He went down. Lucien stood over him, breathing hard, bleeding from a dozen cuts. "Where is she?" he demanded. "Tell me where she is and I'll make this quick." Taejin's hand found his pistol, still tucked in his waistband. He pulled it, aimed. "You first," he said. The gunshot was deafening in the enclosed space. But me. In the safe room, Naomi heard the shot, screamed, threw herself at the door. Let me out right now." Minji held her back. "You can't. If you go up there, you'll distract him. You'll get him killed. He might already be dead. He's not. Trust me. If Taejin was dead, we'd know. We'd feel it." Another gunshot. Then silence. Terrible, absolute silence. Naomi sank to the floor. Her whole body was shaking. "Please, Please let him be okay. Minji's phone buzzed. She checked it. Her face went pale. What? Naomi demanded. What is it? Jay says... Minji's voice caught. He says Taejin's down. Lucien's moving toward the basement, toward us. Then we fight. We don't just sit here waiting. With what? We don't have weapons. We don't have training. We have a locked door and hope. Hope isn't enough. Sometimes it's all we have. Footsteps above them, heavy, uneven. Someone was hurt. The question was who? The footsteps stopped outside the safe room door. Naomi. Lucien's voice, ragged, pained. I know you're in there. I know you can hear me. Naomi pressed her hand over her mouth to keep from making a sound. Open the door, please. I just want to talk, just 5 minutes. That's all I'm asking. Silence. I'm not a monster. I'm not what you think. I made mistakes, bad mistakes, but I never wanted to hurt you. I just wanted to protect myself. Is that so wrong? Wanting to survive? You destroyed people's lives, Naomi said. Her voice came out stronger than she felt. You stole their money, their futures. You don't get to play victim. I gave them opportunities, investments. Some worked, some didn't. That's not theft. That's risk. You forged documents. You created shell companies. You laundered money. That's not risk. That's crime. Semantics, legal definitions. The only difference between me and every other wealth manager is I got caught. No, the difference is you're a thief, and you got exactly what you deserved. Silence. Then, maybe you're right. Maybe I deserve prison. Maybe I deserve worse. But you don't deserve what's coming, because I'm not the only one who knows about the evidence. I'm not the only one who lost money when my firm collapsed. There are people, powerful people, who want you gone, who'll pay to make you disappear. And when I'm dead or locked up forever, there'll be nobody left to call them off. You're lying. Am I? Why do you think I escaped? Why do you think I came here? Not for revenge, for warning. There's a contract on you, $50,000 to anyone who can confirm you're dead. I came to tell you that, to give you a chance to run, really run, change your name, change your face, disappear completely before they find you. Naomi's blood ran cold. I don't believe you. Then don't. But when someone walks into your life in 6 months, in a year, pretending to be friendly, when they get close and you let your guard down, remember I warned you. Remember I tried to help. Help? You hunted me for 18 months. You tried to destroy my life. That's not help. That's terrorism. I tried to protect my life. You tried to destroy it. We're both just people trying to survive. The only difference is you're winning. The door handle rattled. Open the door, Naomi. Let me in. Let me explain everything. Let me show you I'm not the monster you think I am. No. Please. No. Then I'm sorry. For all of it. For everything I did. For everything I am. I'm sorry. Silence. Footsteps retreating. Then, gunshots. Multiple. Close together. Return fire. Shouting. More shots. Then nothing. Naomi couldn't breathe, couldn't think, couldn't do anything except sit in the darkness and pray Taejin was still alive. Minutes passed like hours. Then the door unlocked. Light flooded in. Taejin stood in the doorway, blood-soaked, limping, but alive. Behind him, Jay and 2 of the compound's guards. Lucien? Naomi whispered. Dead. He tried to fight through the guards, didn't make it. Did you? No, I didn't kill him. The guards did. Clean shoot, self-defense. It's over. Naomi stumbled forward, grabbed Taejin, held him so tight her arms ached. He was shaking, or maybe she was shaking. Maybe they both were. It's over, he whispered into her hair. Really over. He can't hurt you anymore. But his voice sounded hollow, empty, like killing Lucien, even indirectly, had cost him something essential. They left the compound at dawn. The rain had finally stopped. Morning light filtered through mountains that looked peaceful and innocent, like violence had never touched them. Agent Chen met them at a truck stop halfway back to Seoul. She arrived with a full tactical team and enough law enforcement presence to make it clear this was official business now. Lucien Cole is dead, she confirmed. Killed attempting to breach a secured location. Multiple witnesses, security footage, everything documented. It's clean, you're in the clear. Just like that? Naomi asked. Just like that. The contract he mentioned, we're investigating but haven't found proof it exists. Could have been a last-ditch manipulation attempt. Could have been real. Either way, we'll monitor. Keep you safe. For how long? As long as it takes. You're a protected witness now. That comes with resources, security. The full weight of international law enforcement making sure nothing happens to you. Naomi nodded slowly. Too tired to feel relieved. Too numb to feel anything. Chen handed her a folder. Restitution paperwork. Lucien's assets are being liquidated. Victims will start receiving payments within the month. Tens of millions recovered. Hundreds of lives getting second chances because you wouldn't stop fighting. It doesn't feel like winning. It never does. Justice is expensive. Victory is bloody, but it's still victory. And those people, those families, those retirees, those victims, they get their lives back because of you. That matters, even if it doesn't feel like it right now. Chen left. Naomi stood in the parking lot watching her drive away. Taejin came to stand beside her. His arm was bandaged, his face was bruised, but he was alive. "What are you thinking?" he asked. "I'm thinking I want to go home, to the bookstore, to our apartment, to somewhere that feels normal, even if normal doesn't exist anymore." "Okay, we'll go home." They drove back to Seoul in silence. The city looked the same, millions of people living their lives, eating breakfast, going to work, existing in the ordinary rhythm of days that had nothing to do with violence or justice or corruption. Naomi watched them through the car window and wondered if she'd ever feel ordinary again. The bookstore was exactly as they'd left it. Clean, repaired, ready to welcome customers. But it felt different now. Haunted by everything that had happened, every corner held memories of violence. Every shadow could be hiding threats. "We don't have to stay here," Taejin said. "We could sell it. Start over somewhere else. Somewhere without ghosts." "No, we stay, we build, we prove that what happened doesn't get to define us forever. Even if it takes time? Especially if it takes time." They reopened the bookstore 2 days later. Customers came, slowly at first, then steadily. Students looking for textbooks, neighbors browsing fiction, old regulars who'd missed having a quiet place to read. Nobody mentioned the news. Nobody asked about Lucien Cole or international fraud or anything except whether they had specific titles in stock. It was the most beautiful anonymity Naomi had ever experienced. Weeks passed, then months. Naomi testified once. A video deposition from Seoul, carefully controlled, with Agent Chen present to ensure her safety. She told the truth, all of it, every detail she remembered. Then it was over. The case closed. Restitution completed. Lucien's firm dissolved. His partners facing their own charges. Justice, such as it was. And Naomi's life slowly, carefully, painfully became her own again. She started teaching English again. Different school, different students, but the same satisfaction of watching people learn. She started sleeping through the night without nightmares. She started answering her phone without checking the number first. She started existing in the world like someone who belonged there, instead of someone waiting to be found. And Taejin? He ran the bookstore, recommended novels, made coffee, argued with suppliers about delivery schedules. But sometimes Naomi would catch him standing at the window staring at nothing, and she'd know he was thinking about the man he'd almost become again. The man he'd been, the violence he'd touched. They never talked about it directly, but it lived between them like a third presence in their marriage. 6 months after Lucien's death, Taejin's father came to the bookstore. It was a Saturday afternoon, slow day. Just a handful of customers browsing. He walked in wearing an expensive suit that looked out of place among the worn paperbacks and coffee-stained tables. "We need to talk," he said. Taejin looked up from the register. "About what?" "About the family, about your place in it, about what comes next." "I told you, I'm done. I run a bookstore. That's my life now. I'm not asking you to come back. I'm asking you to consider a compromise. Stay independent, keep your bookstore, but also attend family meetings, offer counsel when needed, Help guide the younger generation towards something better than what we were. Why? Because you were right, what you said 6 months ago, about the family losing its way, about choosing reputation over substance. You were right, and I was wrong. He paused. And because your grandmother is getting older, she wants to know the family will be in good hands when she's gone. Hands that actually care about more than profit. Taejin looked at Naomi. She nodded slightly. Your choice. I'll think about it, he said. His father nodded. That's all I'm asking. He turned to leave, stopped. You're a better man than I ever was. I should have said that sooner. I should have said it 100 times, but I'm saying it now. He left. The bookstore was quiet again. Are you going to do it? Naomi asked. I don't know, maybe. If it means I can help change things, make the family into something worth belonging to. And if it doesn't work, then we tried. That's all anyone can do. Try to be better than what came before. Naomi smiled. That sounds like something worth fighting for. Yeah, it does. 1 year after Lucien's arrest, Naomi received a letter. It came from Lagos, from an address she didn't recognize. Inside was a photograph. An elderly woman, children, a small storefront with a sign in both English and Yoruba, and a note. Dear Miss Adebayo, you don't know me, but you saved my life. My husband worked for years, saved every naira, put it all in investments managed by Cole and partners. When they stole our money, we lost everything. Our retirement, our grandchildren's education fund, everything. I thought we were finished, thought we'd die poor and broken. Then the restitution came. Not all our money, but enough. Enough to start over. Enough to open this shop. Enough to hope again. Thank you. Thank you for being brave when it would have been easier to run. Thank you for fighting when everyone told you to be quiet. Thank you for being the kind of person who cares about strangers you've never met. You are a hero, even if you don't feel like one. Blessings on you and yours. Adeze Okonkwo. Naomi sat in the bookstore holding that letter and cried. Not sad tears. Relief tears. The kind that come when you finally understand that the pain was worth it, that the fight mattered, that small acts of courage can ripple outward and touch lives you'll never see. Taejin found her there, read the letter over her shoulder. You did that, he said quietly. You gave that woman her life back. We did that. You and me and Minji and Jay and everyone who helped. But you started it. You kept the evidence. You refused to give up. Everything else came from that first decision. Naomi folded the letter carefully, tucked it into her pocket. I want to frame this, she said. Put it somewhere I can see it, so on days when I wonder if any of it mattered, I'll have proof that it did. Good idea. They stood together in the quiet bookstore surrounded by words and stories and the ordinary magic of a place where people came to escape the world. And Naomi realized something. She'd spent 18 months running from her past, 6 months fighting to destroy it, and now, finally, she was building something new, not perfect, not without scars, but hers, really, truly hers. Mtsikin. 2 years after meeting Taejin, Naomi woke up in their apartment above the bookstore and didn't immediately check the locks on the doors. She made coffee, read the news, answered emails. Normal things, ordinary things. The kind of peaceful, boring existence she'd thought she'd never have again. Taejin was already downstairs opening the store. She could hear him moving around, the soft sounds of someone who'd found contentment in routine. She dressed and went down to join him. The morning light through the bookstore windows turned everything golden, dust motes dancing in sunbeams, spines of books glowing like treasure. Customers would arrive soon, students and workers, and people looking for something to read on their commute. But for now, it was just them. Good morning, Taejin said without looking up from the coffee machine. Good morning. Sleep okay? Yeah, you? Yeah. Such simple words, such ordinary exchange. But underneath them was everything they'd survived, everything they'd fought for, everything they'd become. Naomi walked to where Taejin stood and wrapped her arms around him from behind, pressed her face against his back, felt his heartbeat steady and strong. What's this for? He asked. Nothing. Everything. I don't know. Just wanted to hold you. He turned in her arms, looked at her with those dark eyes that had seen too much violence but had somehow stayed soft when they looked at her. "I love you," he said. "I don't think I've said that out loud yet, but I do. I love you." Naomi's throat tightened. "I love you too, for real. Not as a contract, not as an arrangement, for real." "When did that happen?" "I don't know, somewhere between running for our lives and rebuilding this place. Somewhere in all the chaos. It just happened." Taejin smiled, actually smiled, the kind that reached his eyes and made him look years younger. "Good," he said, "because I was starting to worry this whole marriage thing was going to stay fake forever." Naomi laughed. The sound surprised her. When had she started laughing again? When had joy become possible? The bookstore door opened, their first customer of the day. An elderly man looking for a specific poetry collection. Taejin helped him while Naomi prepared the coffee station. Ordinary work, ordinary life. But underneath the ordinary was the extraordinary truth. She'd survived. They'd survived. They'd fought through darkness and violence and corruption and come out the other side changed but whole. The man bought his book and left. More customers arrived. The day unfolded in the gentle rhythm of a business that asked nothing more than to exist, to provide books and coffee and a quiet place to sit. That evening, after closing, Naomi and Taejin walked through Hongdae, the same streets where this had all started, the same neon lights reflecting in puddles, but everything felt different now. She wasn't running anymore. She wasn't hiding. She was just a woman walking with her husband through a city that had become home. They passed the café where Lucien had slapped her, where Taejin had first revealed who he really was. "Want to go in?" Taejin asked. "No, I don't need to prove anything to that space. It doesn't own me anymore." "Good." They kept walking. Seoul moved around them. Millions of stories, millions of lives, millions of people fighting their own battles in silence. Naomi wondered how many of them carried secrets like hers. How many had survived things they'd never talk about? How many wore ordinary faces over extraordinary pain? All of them, probably. Every single person. That was the real truth she'd learned. Everyone was fighting something. Everyone carried scars. The only difference was some people's wars happened in public while others happened in shadows. Hers had been both. And somehow, impossibly, she'd won. "What are you thinking about?" Taejin asked. "Everything, nothing. How strange it is to feel normal after everything that happened. Is that a good strange or a bad strange?" "Good. Definitely good. I'm grateful for boring, for ordinary, for days that don't involve running or fighting or fearing for my life." "Me too." They walked in comfortable silence, back to the bookstore, up to their apartment, into the life they'd built from wreckage and determination and the stubborn refusal to let darkness win. Naomi stood at the window looking out at Seoul's lights while Taejin made tea. And she thought about all the people who'd helped her get here. Minji with her fierce loyalty, Jae with his quiet competence, Madame Kang with her unexpected protection, Agent Chen with her belief in justice, even Taejin's father, slowly learning to be better than he'd been. She thought about the victims, people like Adaez Okonkwo, who'd gotten their lives back because Naomi had been too stubborn to quit. She thought about Lucien, dead now, his empire destroyed, his legacy reduced to cautionary tale. She should have felt triumphant. Instead, she just felt tired and grateful and ready to stop looking backward. Taejin handed her tea. They stood together at the window. "Do you ever wonder what would have happened if we'd never met?" Naomi asked. "Sometimes. I think I'd still be running that bookstore, still pretending I was content, still dying a little more inside every day." "And me? You'd still be running, still afraid, still alone, until eventually Lucien found you and..." He stopped. "I don't like thinking about that version of the story." "Me neither. So let's think about this version instead, the one where we found each other, where we fought back, where we won." "Did we win? Really? Lucien's dead. The evidence is public, but the world didn't change. Corrupt people are still doing corrupt things. We just stopped one of them." "One is more than zero. One is enough." Naomi leaned against him. "When did you become so optimistic?" When I started believing we might actually have a future, that the bookstore and the quiet life and you, that it could all be real and permanent instead of temporary. Is it permanent? I hope so. I'm planning on it being permanent, but I've learned that you can't control everything. You can only choose who you want beside you when things fall apart. And I choose you, every time, no matter what. Naomi turned to face him. I choose you too. Even when it's hard, even when it's complicated, even when your family drives me crazy and my past keeps catching up and everything feels impossible, I still choose you. Taejin kissed her, soft, gentle, like they had all the time in the world and no reason to rush. And maybe they did. Maybe after everything, after the running and the fighting and the violence and the fear, maybe they'd finally earned the right to slow down, to breathe, to exist in the quiet spaces between emergencies, to simply live. 3 years after Lucien's arrest, the bookstore expanded. They took over the space next door, doubled the inventory, added a small performance area for readings and music. Minji helped with the business planning. Jay built their website. Madame Kang sent a substantial investment that everyone knew was actually a gift. Even Taejin's father showed up on opening day with an expensive bottle of liquor and awkward congratulations. The neighborhood came. Students and artists and families, and everyone who'd made Phoenix books part of their routine. Naomi stood behind the counter watching people browse and laugh and exist in the space she and Taejin had built, and felt something close to peace. Not perfect peace. She still had nightmares sometimes, still checked locks compulsively, still jumped at unexpected sounds. But the fear was manageable now, present but not controlling. And most days she was just Naomi, bookstore owner, English teacher, wife, woman with a past but also a future. That night, after everyone left and the store was clean and quiet, she found Taejin sitting in the reading corner with a book he wasn't actually reading. "You okay?" she asked. "Yeah, just thinking." "About what?" "About how 3 years ago I was sitting in this exact spot, wondering if my life would ever mean anything again. If I'd ever feel useful, if I'd ever stop pretending I was fine when I was actually drowning. And now? Now I'm sitting here with a wife I love and a business that matters and a life I actually want to live. It's not what I expected, but it's better than anything I could have planned." Naomi sat beside him, took his hand. "Thank you." "For what?" "For opening that door, for offering me a way out, for choosing to fight beside me when you could have walked away." "I couldn't walk away, not from you." "Why not?" Taejin was quiet for a long moment. "Because when I looked at you that first time in English class, I saw someone who was fighting just to exist, someone who'd been beaten down but refused to stay down, someone who reminded me that courage isn't about not being afraid. It's about being terrified and doing the thing anyway." He turned to look at her. "You reminded me who I wanted to be, not who my family needed, not who the syndicate trained, who I actually wanted to be, and that was worth fighting for." Naomi's eyes burned with tears she didn't try to hide. "I think you saved me." "No, we saved each other. That's how this works." They sat together in the quiet bookstore while Seoul hummed outside the windows. And Naomi thought about all the versions of herself she'd been. The ambitious auditor in Lagos, the terrified refugee in Seoul, the woman who'd kept running until she found someone worth stopping for, the fighter who'd faced down her demons and won. All of those women lived inside her still, but the woman she was becoming, the one sitting in this bookstore with this man and this life, that woman was someone she was proud to be. Someone strong enough to have survived, someone brave enough to have fought, someone wise enough to know when to stop fighting and start living. The rain started again outside, soft, gentle, nothing like the storms that had marked the worst moments of her journey. This was different rain, cleaner, kinder, the kind that washed things without destroying them. Taejin stood, offered his hand. "Come on, let's go home." Naomi took it. They locked up the bookstore and climbed the stairs to their apartment where ordinary life waited. Dinner to make, shows to watch, quiet conversations about nothing important. The beautiful, boring existence of people who'd survived the extraordinary and earned the right to be ordinary. And as Naomi lay in bed that night listening to Taejin's breathing beside her, And the rain against the windows and Seoul's endless motion below, she realized something profound. She'd spent 18 months running from her past, 2 years fighting to destroy it. And now, finally, impossibly, miraculously, she was free. Not because the past had disappeared, but because she'd stopped letting it define her future. The woman who'd been hunted was gone. The woman who'd been afraid was gone. What remained was someone new, someone forged in crisis but tempered by love. Someone who understood that surviving wasn't the same as living, but that you needed to survive first before you could learn how to do anything else. She'd survived. And now, finally, she was learning how to live. That was victory enough. That was everything. Outside, Seoul glowed eternal. Inside, Phoenix Books waited to open its doors tomorrow, to more people seeking stories and comfort and the quiet magic of words on pages. And upstairs, in a small apartment above a bookstore in Hongdae, two people who'd found each other in the worst possible circumstances slept peacefully, their hands intertwined, their futures uncertain but shared. The rain fell. The city breathed. And Naomi Adebayo, survivor, fighter, whistleblower, wife, finally, completely, absolutely stopped running.